validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. So we got some pretty good updates for y'all. So before we get into it, I just want to let y'all know, welcome to This and That. We go live every night of the week. And Steven's here. He said all of my system updates are current. Yesterday I got the notification. Today I didn't. I got 1 out of 3 in the last 3 days. Well, Steven, I was during the time that I was putting all those shows up. There might have been days where you may not have hit the notification button on all the shows that had been released, because Tuesdays were days that did not have the thing, but Wednesdays was put up early, and it was wild. Right now I'm trying to get like all of the upcoming day, with the exception of Monday. So 6 days a week will be pre-posted, but the Mondays will be done the weekend before the day. So what you're going to see is you may have to go back and check the notification buttons for each one of the shows, because YouTube is manual, not automatic. It's not going to automatically notify you every time we go live if you don't hit the notification button for each one of the next 12 days worth of shows, not including the 2 Mondays, which would have made it 14 days worth of shows that would happen over the next 2 weeks. So if for some reason a show popped up after you hit the notification buttons a week ago, 4 days ago, whatever the case may be, and that extra show had popped up, but you didn't hit the notification button on that particular show, then you would find that particular show isn't going to notify you because it is per episode, not per channel. So that's a very inconvenient feature of YouTube, but you kind of got a gist of when this bad boy is going to be here. So when you're here, I'm here. So you're not really missing too much. You probably missed out on the intro. I do got some pretty decent Second Amendment announcements that I'm going to be talking to you guys about real quick before we get started into today's topic, because we're supposed to be talking about a question that determines compatibility, and you be able to reasonably predict compatibility with the person that you're communicating with based on these particular questions. So it's a very lengthy show today. So we're probably gonna be like 2.5 hours today talking about this. So everybody that's on TikTok, I'm gonna tell you guys the same way I tell YouTube. While we're live 7 nights a week, we do not let the sun rise without going live. But we don't always start on time. We're really close to when we were supposed to start about 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we ask you guys to like, subscribe, mash those reaction buttons while you're here. So I should see a lot of hearts coming up on TikTok side, and then hit the notification buttons on YouTube side of things so that you guys can be notified as to the exact moment that we go live on the show. And then if you're not on YouTube, go to the YouTube side of things whenever you have time and hit that notification button, and then also double check the membership, because we're releasing stuff on a regular basis like there's no tomorrow. There's all kinds of stuff being dropped into the membership. With that being said, we have some updates right now. I just came across some new information that recognizes that there was a Supreme Court ruling on those ATF monitored items, and because the tax stamp was removed, so they're no longer paying $200 tax stamp on some like silencers and bump stocks and all this other stuff. The tax code law that required you to register those firearms accessories to the ATF because of the tax stamp no longer applies. The ruling just came out over the last 2 days, where it's been recognized recently that because there is no tax on those items, on the possession of or usage of those items, there is no longer a tax code requirement to register those items. However, because it is not universally enforced across the entire United States, it is exclusive to the like NRA and other such clubs that were involved in the civil action. Silencer Co. or Stealth Pro Silencer, I think whatever his name was, that was also involved in that civil action, and other agencies that was involved in that civil action. So if you were a member of like the NRA or the Firearms Nation or some group like that that's involved in that scenario, you will sooner rather than later be able to go and get your bump stocks and all that other wild stuff without having to register it with the ATF. The customers can do it, but customers of the specific company, I think Silencer Pro or Stealth Pro Corporation, that was involved in the civil action, is the only company that isn't going to be required to deal with that as it stands right now. So if you're interested in that, you might want to go do some research on it. But there is a 5-day hold on the ruling, which gives the opposing party who has an unfavorable ruling the opportunity to file an appeal with the appeals court, and then get that decision from the appeals court. And then if they do not file an appeal within the next week, then it will be in full effect. And if that does occur, then if you're looking for silencers and other such stuff without having a requirement for registration, then of course you would be able to go and get that from that specific company. So that company's stock is going to explode in the firearms department, because anybody who wants like certain firearms and firearm accessories to not have to go through that registration portion of things, they would have to go to this company to get it, unless they were part of one of the organizations that don't have to register that type of equipment, until it becomes standard for all companies around the United States. So if you were investing in certain companies and firearm companies, if Stealth Pro or Silencer Pro, I can't remember which one it was for that particular name for that particular company. If that company is a publicly traded company, you could buy stock into it right now and watch the stock go up because that company is going to be selling more of this equipment than other companies until it becomes standardized. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about that real quick. However, they said wait a week, and then if nothing happens, then go nuts. Now, as it pertains to that, because I told you guys when we were talking about this like a year ago, that if in the event that they did pass something like this, that I would not be the first one to go and get it. I would have to kind of see how the playing field works. And the reason being is because when laws change, the laws change before the police officers change how they enforce the law. So the police officers goes off of the old way, and the new way exists, right? So while for the last like 50, 60 years, law enforcement expects you when they see certain equipment for you to have certain paperwork on hand on the city and state level. And if you don't have that paperwork on hand, then you have this whole investigation to determine whether or not you're legally able to carry this particular type of equipment. So what happens is that while you're not required to do it on a federal level, you have to check your local city and state laws to see what information you need to have to justify the fact that you have what used to be ATF level equipment that is no longer ATF level equipment, so that you are not being unnecessarily tormented by law enforcement. And if they're investigating the firearm itself, that means that they could seize it as evidence until they finish their investigation, which is unfair. So, because I know the Second Amendment rights, we're like, yeah, I don't consent to search and seizure, right? But if you're in unlawful possession of, that is the investigation, and they can seize the item as evidence. So, because they can visibly see it on your person, so that's a lawful search situation, which sucks. So I'm gonna wait, 6 months to a year, 2 years, and because then I gotta find one that's compatible with mine, right? Because because when you get us, the problem with the suppressor or silencer when you're trying to use one of those is the difference between it being permanently fixated onto your firearm versus added in the moment. Any action that you perform after you pull the trigger is going to be determined based on the fore action prior to the trigger shot. That's one of the things that I take into consideration. Because remember, I told you guys that no matter what you do in this world, that you do what you know is right to the best of your ability. You stand on what you believe in by any means necessary, and then you accept the consequences of your actions before you perform the actions. Even if you're not going to do what you know is right, if you're going to do something because you believe that it is necessary and you're going to defend that by any means necessary, you must accept the consequences of your actions before you perform the actions. And that's something that I tell everybody. So knowing that if I wanted to be that kind of person, I would have a suppressor, I would have to decide if the consequences of using it under certain conditions is favorable to my objectives and my outcomes, right? Now, recognizing, and this is going to be a brief thing because that's not what today's show is about. Today's show is about predicting compatibility, but I just wanted to give this update before we got started. But this particular suppressor thing is a wild scenario because bump stocks is stuff that you put on your it's permanent fixture equipment that they wanted to tax you on before, but the suppressor thing is an accessory that is an add-on to it, right? So if it's a long barrel rifle or something like that, more often than not, it's permanently fixated on the rifle upon removing it out of whatever casing that it's in. But when it is a handgun, most holsters are not compatible for a suppressor extension. So you're in a situation where in order for you to permanently fixate it on your firearm, you have to get a custom holster, or it's not going to be permanently fixated. Because you can't really do too much open carry. You have to have it in a big pouch and then pull it out like a judgment day. Do the long reach out of a duffel bag in order to have the suppressor on it as a permanent fixture. And then pulling the trigger in the moment of what is considered self-defense. If you pull the trigger in self-defense while it was permanently fixated on the firearm, that is considered an impulse trigger pull versus getting the firearm, getting the suppressor, and then attaching them together and then pulling the trigger. The 5 to 10 seconds that it takes to attach it up there. Thank you very much for those likes. I appreciate that. The few seconds that it takes to attach that up there is the premeditated portion of you're doing this to pull the trigger. So whatever you do after that is premeditated because I'm gonna shoot this person is the train of thought while you're screwing the suppressor on the firearm in the middle of the confrontation. And that's something that is the difference between a self-defense case and an attempted murder case. Right? So while I would love to have one, outside of using it at the range, or unlawfully, discharging the firearm inside of a residential, specifically because I can shoot in my backyard in a enclosed area and nobody will hear it, so nobody will call the police. Outside of those scenarios, like, everything that you do with that is not going to be in your favor if it is not permanently fixated. So you got to really think about what you're doing before y'all run out there under the new laws all willy-nilly. And just recognize, uh most police officers are going to tell you out the gate, because it is their experience, you're supposed to have paperwork for that. And they're going to ask you if you've got paperwork for that. And then you're going to have to explain to them which law shows that you don't require the paperwork. And the paperwork you're going to have, ironically, special shout out to OG Kicks, the paperwork you're going to have, ironically, is going to be the receipt from the company that is validated under the Supreme Court ruling to sell it without the governmental paperwork. So you're going to have something. And you're going to have to keep that with you at all times. So Silencer Pro said, the judge said that Silencer Pro doesn't have to give you this ATF paperwork. So instead of carrying your ATF paperwork, you have to carry your Silencer Pro paperwork that shows that you don't need to carry your ATF paperwork. And potentially the Supreme Court ruling to go with it to show that you don't need that ATF paperwork, like according to this case law. Because when you're in the middle of an argument with a police officer, you get nervous because you're afraid they're going to shoot you. So you sometimes you forget the case law. And if you haven't had to use the case law in a while, you don't have it memorized, like the Social Security number. So you might find that, it's easier to say, I've got the case law and I've got the receipt from the company that's involved in the case law that says that I don't need this paperwork when I do business with them. That's all I need. I'm legal. Just don't go. You got to travel. You got to worry about traveling with that. That's going to be the only implication. Now, moving on to today's topic, we have different topics every night of the week because we go live 7 nights a week. First things first, we have Sundays questions, comments from the fans. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we have business and politics, where on Monday, we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Then we have on Tuesdays, we talk about different ways to make, save, invest, budget money, different ways to think about money. Then on Wednesdays, we discuss different countries around the world to go and live in. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, today being, what is today? Friday. Today being Friday, I keep losing track of days. We actually discuss self-improvement, personal development, relationship topics, and today's going to be both relationship and personal development. Then we discuss socialization, negotiations, building a brand, raises, promotions, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, termination, and then how to build your 20 and 30-year plan and the importance of that. And part of the importance of building your 20 and 30-year plan is if you're going to include a partner in that, which is, we had a deep discussion about this yesterday, is that if you are going from nothing to something financially, and you are going to add someone to your estate eventually, it is imperative that you get your paperwork in order so that the new person that is legally binded to your estate is legally binded to your estate with limits. But picking the right person is typically the fundamental core of how the rest of your relationship and how the rest of your decisions work out, right? Because if you have a person that's got the same mindset that you do, the same values that you do, you guys operate in the same fashion, like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence on Bad Boys kind of situation, and y'all always headed in the same direction, then it's less difficult than having somebody that contradicts you on a regular basis, right? Doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. If you're with somebody who contradicts you on a regular basis in an unhealthy fashion, right? You're not able to achieve your goals. You can't count on them to follow through with the things that you want done, which requires you to do it yourself on a regular basis. And that makes it harder for you. So recognizing the compatibility in the person within the first handful of discussions before you open your wallet, fellas, because we should not be, I'm going to tell y'all, and comment on TikTok if y'all want to jump in on this as well. I'm going to tell y'all for real, we should not be paying for the first date. This isn't a going Dutch situation. I'm not going to sit here and scream some egalitarian nonsense. She gets his estate if she stays in a relationship with him. Let's start there. She gets whatever he made, the houses, the cars, the business, whatever's not in the prenup, whatever's not in the girlfriend contract, whatever wasn't designated in the trust. She gets all of his stuff upon him passing, and at least half of his stuff upon separation. As a result, her showing up is considered an investment, right? But it is not a meaningful investment until she contributes. So if she wants his estate, she should be paying for the first date. This is her job application, not his, right? Guys are throwing their money on the table so that they can get laid, but the resources is what the woman needs to survive, and that's what women are looking for successful men for, is for the financial security. The same way they get certain jobs for the prestige and sometimes the financial security. So since that's the case, that's the fundamental understanding. She needs to apply for this job and show that she can handle this job, right? And if she's not doing that, then apparently she's messing up. And that's one of the things that we fail to do as men, is because we're not determining if she's reasonably contributing to the relationship. We are paying for her time so that she can linger long enough so that we can say that, we've got someone here, not that we've got someone here that we benefit from, right? And that's a huge left field situation. And I know a lot of women are going to object to that. Well, why is he benefiting from her? Blah, 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 blah. But look, she's going to benefit from him. She's going to benefit from everything that he buys for her, whether it's for entertainment, whether it's for necessity, everything that he buys for her, she's going to benefit from him. So he invites me to co-host. Did you have a comment on this topic here? Hello. Hi. Oh Lord, we got a lot of people in here today. How are you? We're doing okay. We are doing okay. Yeah, I see that. I don't even know what just happened here. Hi. That's all you got for me is hello? Doing okay. How are you? You're gonna keep asking that question? All right, hold on. Follow you. Whoa, follow me. All right, we follow. Where are you going? How do we move this? There we go. All right. Hold on, y'all. Because this is one of them things. I heard you. Brother, follow me. I heard you. Brother, follow me. We already did that. We already followed you. Me. Switching back to the main camera. Wait, hold on. That was interesting. we tried to get some extra. I don't know. TikTok is a little bit different than what we got going on, because with TikTok, is everybody's just hanging out and they're just talking to one another. We're actually doing a live podcast right now, so I thought they were jumping in because they had something positive to say. They just wanted some attention, which is beneficial for us. So let's go ahead and jump into this topic real quick, because if you're picking the right person, then you have a better way to go. So if you have that feeling of chemistry, something that you're chasing, right? That intoxicating spark that makes you feel like you've finally found the one. It might just be the very thing that's sabotaging your love life. Now, I know we've all been told a story, and it's going to be a story written by the movies, songs, and our own hopeful hearts. It's going to be the story of instant connections, that butterfly in your stomachs, the undeniable pull that feels like destiny, right? We're going to call that chemistry. And we've been taught that it's the ultimate green flag in relationships, a sign that a real relationship is meant to be with this particular individual. But what if I told you guys that chasing that feeling, that prioritizing that initial explosion of attraction about somebody above all else is one of the most common mistakes that we make in our search for lasting love? What if that electrifying jolt isn't a predictor of a happy future, but often a precursor to a painful ending? For years, many of us have been working from a broken premise. We've mistaken the fireworks for a fireplace. We've confused the thrill of the chase with the comfort of home. Okay. And in doing so, we found ourselves in relationships that feel incredible for just a few months, only to crumble under the first sign of real life pressure. So if you've ever been in a cycle of intense beginnings and confusing, heartbreaking endings, wondering how could something like that feel so right yet go so wrong, you got to understand tonight's episode is for you. Because the answer doesn't lie in finding more chemistry. It lies in understanding what truly makes a relationship work. So let's be honest here. Chemistry does feel incredible. It's a biological and emotional phenomenon, a potent cocktail of neurochemicals like dopamine and hormones like oxytocin that our brain serves up when we meet someone who excites us. It makes our heart race and convinces us to ignore dozens of little red flags because the feeling of connection is just that good. You feel energized, you feel focused, unusually tolerant of things that might normally drive you crazy. It's powerful, it's intoxicating, and it's what starts most of the relationships. Besides those relationships that start from casual one night stand that turns into friends with benefit style situationships, somebody gets pregnant, and now all of a sudden we have a ton of responsibilities that we're trying to adhere to with an individual that ultimately wasn't originally meant for us. Here's the hard truth. Chemistry on its own is a surprisingly unreliable predictor of long-term happiness. It is the spark, not the substance. It is the pull, but not the glue. You want to think about a relationship that you've had, any one of them, the first one, the last one, the most recent one that you can remember, which doesn't necessarily have to be the last one, because you understand when you go through a really traumatic relationship, you probably try to forget that one. Or think about one that you've seen up close. You might have not have been in a bad relationship recently. You might have just seen somebody in a bad relationship. It usually starts with magical sparks, conversations that last for hours, giving each other your undivided time, making time for one another, going out of your way for each other, right? You're finishing each other's sentences. The attraction is so intense, it feels like gravity. And you think, this is it. This is the one, right? This person just gets me, right? Then a few months pass. The novelty starts to wear off, as it always does, and reality seeps in through the cracks. You have the first real argument about money, not a philosophical chat about wealth, but a tense, ugly fight about a credit card bill, a purchase that wasn't expected to be made. Or you realize that your idea of a relaxing weekend, which is like a quiet day at home with a book, is their idea of living a nightmare. They need to be out surrounded by people, moving from one activity to the next. Suddenly, you're not just fighting about the dishwasher. You're fighting about fundamental different ways to live, right? I'm going to be real with you. This is something that we don't always pay attention to. We don't always think about, but it is in fact something that, for the life of us, gets us on a regular basis. One of the reasons that we have this is we in our lives, we typically look for what we think is missing, not what we know we need, right? So a lot of times, dude looking to get laid because getting laid is not in his life. A lot of times, women looking for financial stability because enough money is not in her life. Sometimes a woman might have all of her bills in order, but she doesn't have excitement. So she looks for a toxic relationship because that's where excitement's going to come from. She looks for spontaneity, but spontaneity is unreliability. A person that shows up when they want to and leaves when they feel like it is somebody that you can't count on. But ooh, he popped up out of nowhere and then he ghosted you for a while. You got to understand this is the kind of stuff that leads us to the feeling that this is the right relationship, but the red flags that we ignore, right? Um, it's crazy. So you might find that one of you guys are a meticulous planner and the other one thrives on chaos. And when you think, like, for example, uh, the we're gonna do both the men and the women. So, for example, the wild guy that doesn't answer to nobody, right? He's the guy that shows up on the Harley or the hot rod or the sports car, Hellcat or whatever. He parks it however he feels like it. He talks trash to the business owners, does whatever he wants, pays his tab, and walks out, right? And you think, wow, that was thrilling. The freedom of being able to, put your foot down to establishment, right? Now the problem is that in that guy's day-to-day life, he's always dealing with somebody that is going against the grain of his desires because he wants to put his car a certain way, but they're putting tickets on it. He wants to walk into certain establishments any kind of way, they're not letting him in. He gets pulled over and he's getting hassled by like 10 cops instead of having a regular conversation with one cop because they have already identified him as hostile, right? So the chaos might be thrilling on paper, and the chaos might be exhilarating, like sampling a ride at a theme park. But having that type of feeling on a regular basis is not healthy for you. Let's take the guys who date the girls that are a little bit, spontaneous, out of the normal, right? The kind of girl that comes up and she might make out with you out of nowhere. She's the kind of girl that might get on the dance floor and drop it like it's hot every now and again, and that wows you, right? Now, flip script now, right? Think about this. Now, that's the kind of if she did that with you the first time, she's doing that all the time. So when you say, okay, well, I need you to calm down, I need you to not do that. Whenever Cash Money Records plays for the 99 and the 2000, you are not supposed to, drop it like it's hot. You know what I mean? And she's gonna argue against that because that's who she is. That wasn't a one-time scenario. That is a way of life. When you find yourself attracted to a sample of a lifestyle and think that I want that in my life, we could do normal things like she might be athletic, he might be a gamer. If she's athletic, she's going to the gym on a regular basis, mountain climbing, riding bicycles, all this, that, and the other. You might have went to the gym one time this year thinking, oh, she's the right fit for me, but she's mad at you because you never leave the house and you're pissed off at her because she keeps trying to make you get off the game. You want a sample of what they've got going on, but you don't want everything that they got going on. You understand? So that novelty, that feeling that, oh, this is new. I like this. That doesn't mean that you're going to make that a routine, right? That's what we wanted to I want you guys to understand that, right? If one of you saves money for the future, obviously the other person is going to believe that money is going to be for living in the now, that fear of missing out, right? The chemistry is still going to be there in certain moments, but you can still make each other laugh while getting on each other's nerves. The physical attraction might be there, but the day-to-day business of living together feels like walking through mud. It's exhausting, right? You start to feel misunderstood, unseen, and deeply lonely, even when you're in the same room with your partner. Because what you got going on and what they got going on are two different things. If you have a carefree, I don't give a fuck about this lifestyle, and your partner has a structured, let's get this done, and let's rebuild Noah's Ark from the ground up and prepare to sail the seas of success, the person that has no ambition and no willpower to get up and get it done is going to be the person that's going to get criticized the most from the person that's saying, let's build a successful future together. The person that's building the successful future is going to feel like a dictator by the person who wants to have a carefree life, because the person that wants to have a carefree life doesn't want to be told what to do. They don't want to have to get up and perform, but things are supposed to get done without them getting up and performing. And that's going to be a conflict of interest that most logical people don't have. But you will find that procrastinators and irresponsible people will have that same logic to say, hey, everything around me is supposed to be taken care of, but I don't have to perform. It makes no sense. Now, what went wrong in these situations? It's the confusion of chemistry with compatibility. If you've ever remembered a connection that you had a long time ago where you felt like a bolt of lightning with somebody, the intellectual and emotional chemistry might not be intertwined with one another. It's gonna the emotional chemistry could be off the charts, right? You might feel profound, but when it comes to the gritty reality of life, you're gonna find that you are astronomically mismatched. You're gonna find that you guys just don't have what it takes to be in the same place at the same time together. Your financial values are going to be polar opposites. Your approaches to conflict, where a car crash occurs because the thoughts and solutions are not going to be unanimous. You're going to need to process things calmly and talk them through, while the other person is needing to retreat into silence for days. A pattern that's going to leave you feeling abandoned and anxious, because if you've got a concern and you bring it to your partner's going to flip out. Or if your partner's got a concern and your partner's going to give you a 2-hour lecture on it, you're going to be in a situation where I don't want to deal with this, but I don't want to mess with the relationship that I have because we have chemistry, right? Your fundamental needs for closeness and independence are going to be in a constant opposition with one another. The passion might still be real, but the connection, right, as real as it could be, would be built on a foundation of sand. Every real life problem, every moment of stress becomes a battle of wills. The relationship feels like a constant negotiation, a series of compromises where both of you will feel like you're losing a part of yourselves. It's going to be a turbulent, draining experience that will teach you a lesson that you never forget. It doesn't stop you from going back into it a second time, but you kind of have a catalyst of it. If you've been here before, you should have realized that you can have a world-class chemistry with someone that you are fundamentally incompatible with. It doesn't change you from always pursuing your type, and your type might not be what you need. In those situations, chemistry doesn't just bridge the gap, it just makes the chasm until you inevitably fall into it, right? So this is going to be the cycle that so many of you guys get stuck into. We'll chase the high of that initial spark, endure the painful fallouts when the relationship can't sustain itself, and then after healing a little bit, you go right back out there and look for the exact same feeling, hoping that this time it'll be different, but it won't. That's because the spark was never the problem. The problem was making it the decision, or if you're trying to use the spark as the destination, that's even worse. Because when the spark was only meant to be the ignition, not the destination, it was supposed to start something, not be the end goal. If you're chasing chemistry, that can lead to heartbreak. And that's not what you're aiming for. So what would be the ultimate alternative? Well, the answer in a word that for many of us sounds far less exciting. He just power bombed the puppy. Y'all don't understand. The big one just powerbombed the small one. I should have had that on video. That would have been it. Now the little one that left the room. See you guys, what's going on? I ain't even gonna tell him nothing about it. had a female be here. Oh, the baby got slammed. I'm sitting over here like, man, if I would have caught that, I'd have did the 3 count. Oh, don't come back for more. You're gonna bust your behind again. Now look, for a lot of us, it's gonna sound a lot less exciting when we're trying to find an alternative to chemistry. But this is gonna sound practical, and this is what you guys have to realize. Logic and reason sticks heavily with me, and logic and reason works better for you if you guys put a lot of effort into following through with what actually makes sense. And here on This and That, what we do is we try to make things make sense. So even if this sounds a little boring, compatibility is going to be more effective than chemistry. Okay. So I want you guys to erase the preconceived notions that you have about the word compatibility. Compatibility isn't about finding a carbon copy of yourself. Opposites do attract one another. Even those similarities get along a lot easier, right? It's not about dating someone who likes the exact same brands or shares all of the same hobbies. Those are surface level similarities, and people's interests change over time. And you notice that on those first handful of dates, the person who wants the relationship more will be the second person to answer the question on a regular basis. What do you like? Oh, I like this. Oh, me too. What do you want? I want this. Oh, me too. And they follow that me too behavior to try to force feed enough similarities to say that we are compatible. You can like all of the same things that I like, but if I'm building a future and you're living in the moment, it's still not going to work out. I could be advance paying for bills, and you could be paying the minimum payment with interest on all of your outstanding debt. We're still not going to get along. I could delay payments on things that make no sense, and you could impulse buy on the things that you novelly see and want, but don't need, right? We still won't get along. So those surface level observations are not the most meaningful things that you can have in your relationships. True deep compatibility is going to be the silent engine of the relationship. It's the operating system that runs in the background, allowing two people to navigate life together with a sense of ease and a partnership rather than a constant friction. If chemistry is the thrilling, heart pounding trailer for the movie, compatibility is the actual plot, the substance, the character development, the story of how two people build a life together day in and day out. So let's put it this way. Chemistry is what happens on a great date. Compatibility is what happens when you're stuck in traffic. One of you has had a terrible day. The GPS just died. You were late for a family event and you didn't want to go to that event. That is compatibility, because chemistry is going to be the feeling of wanting to be with somebody, and compatibility is going to be the feeling of peace that you have when you are with somebody. Right? Compatibility, we would have figured out that stuck in traffic moment, where chemistry is you wouldn't have known what to do while your partner is freaking out behind the wheel of the car, going somewhere that they didn't want to go and late at the same time. Speaking of being late, ladies, I got a question on the sideline. I just want to know. I'm curious about this. If you know that you got somewhere to be with your partner, why is it that you decide to get ready when everybody else is getting ready and then continue to make everybody else late. Why? If you knew that we have to go somewhere to be at a specific location at a specific time, that you, knowing your skincare regimen, knowing your makeup routine and everything like that, that it takes a certain number of hours for you to get it right the way you'll be satisfied with. Why not start getting ready hours ahead of time? Why make the guy wait for you to get ready? Then, if he questions you about how much longer it's going to take for you to be ready for something that we are already late for, you're going to snap back at him with, "Don't rush me." I'm going to be real with you, fellas. I was just watching a movie just this morning about like these guys were in a post-apocalyptic situation, and the woman had to finish her eyelashes before they evacuated the house. I'm sitting over here looking at him like, shit, I'd have took the kids and left her ass in the house getting her makeup done. Because all she did was cook the food. He was the one putting his life on the line, trying to get the animals and trying not to get taken out by the monster. And him and his son was out there battling with the aliens and everything to that effect. And all the woman did was argue with him. I'm sitting over here like, what? I mean, they both filled their gender roles, but when it was time for us to leave the house, instead of her just filling up a backpack and leaving like the women in Resident Evil, she had to put her makeup on before she left the house. I'm sitting over here like, bro, everybody's dead, dude. Who are you trying to impress? You got to put some more eyeshadow on just in case the zombies. So what do y'all do that for? Like, why do y'all not just be ready when you get out of bed, so that you don't have to get ready when it's time to go, right? I just had that question, and feel free to throw a response in there for me. Now, chemistry is going to be a spark that you guys got to recognize. Compatibility is going to be the wood that keeps the fire burning long into the night. It's the practical nitty gritty alignment of the things that actually makes up a life. It's about how you handle your money, how you resolve conflict. It's your shared values, your life goals, and critically, how you each respond to stress. I don't respond to stress as well as I would like, but I respond to stress way better than a lot of other people around me. And that's because I've been in an unnecessarily high quantity of stressful situations. So the high intensity, life threatening, stressful situations that I've been involved in makes it more effective for me to negotiate with individuals who are not used to having normal levels of stress. Because when I'm in a stressful situation, somebody could get shot and it not be by me. When other people are in a stressful situation, they just don't like the fact that they don't have their way in their conversation. I'm like, bro, we could have all got gunned down in this situation with the person that we was talking to. Which is why I don't leave my house without my vest. So I'm just trying to figure out like how do you recognize the conflict resolution skills in your partner from the first date, when all you give a shit about is what her favorite meal is, what her favorite movie is, what she does for fun, what does she like on a holiday or a vacation or a weekend off kind of stuff. You're not asking, well, how do you react and respond when somebody come and cuss you out or slap you in the face or put their foot in your behind and disrespect you in front of your peers? How do you respond to that type of situation? You know, we don't talk to them like that. We don't ask them deep conversational questions like that. You know what I mean? We very rarely have, and then women don't ask men that question either. Women don't ask this question, well, how do you respond when somebody pisses you off? No, what women do is women will deliberately make you mad to see how you react when you get mad. And it never ends well, right? Because if you don't get mad enough, she will keep pushing your buttons until you get mad. But that behavior builds resentment, but it's just a social experiment to see, well, if he gets pissed off, will he punch me in the face? Well, can I piss him off enough to punch me in the face? But if he does punch you in the face, you're going to say it's his fault, but you unnecessarily pushed his buttons. So I'm going to say it's both of y'all's fault because he responded badly to that, but you started. Set the consequences of your actions before you perform the actions. But you got to understand that this is also going to determine whether your differences are complementary to one another, like an introvert and an extrovert who balances each other. An introvert that doesn't like going out and doing stuff, and an extrovert that does very socially get out there and make stuff happen. Where an introvert could encourage the extrovert to settle down and not do as much, while the extrovert can also reasonably balanced encourage the introvert to get out there and go and get more stuff done, right? Complementing each other. Like two people with volatile tempers who constantly escalate arguments until they're throwing stuff and trying to fight each other, like Mike Tyson and Ray Rice. You know what I mean? You got to determine if y'all balance each other out. A relationship with high chemistry but low compatibility is like a beautiful sports car with a lawnmower engine. It's gonna look fantastic and it's thrilling for a short sprint, but it will never go the distance. It'll break down under strain of long journeys. A relationship with compatibility, on the other hand, might not always have the same dramatic flair, but has something far more valuable: the endurance. Like an old school car with different colored doors, missing hood, which would lead you to a scenario where you guys could get on the Autobahn, never run out of gas and never shut down, versus sitting next to a bunch of people with Bugattis. He says no wife equals happy life. Well, statistically, statistics show that a two-woman relationship has more conflicts and fails more often than a man-woman relationship, and a man-woman relationship has more conflicts and fails more often than a man-man relationship. So the less women involved in any interaction, the less conflict is there, is what the data shows. People joke that they save the women and children first, because if the women and children get on the lifeboat and get out of the way, then the men can think in peace to try to solve the conflict. In the United Kingdom, when I think 100,000 women had went out there and protested for equal rights, and they took a whole, I think, a day or so off to walk the streets and protest, all of the women left the workforce. And all of the employers said that day they got more stuff done than they had ever gotten done throughout the year. Because there was no women there slowing down the scenario. So, you know, you can say no wife, happy life, but true to the fact of the matter is that that's not going to be 100% true, because men instinctively lead a pack. And from a solo individual, you are going to create your own pack. From childhood, you're involved in your father's pack, or in a single family home, you're involved in your mother's pack, right? When you become an adult, you leave the pack and go search for your own pack, which means that you're going to find a partner to co-lead the pack with you. You're going to find dependents that will function in the pack with you, and then you will be the leader of your own pack. Even in a friendship, there is one person in the friendship that is more responsible than everybody else. You have one person in the group that more often than not funds the existence of everybody else. When we're going places, this guy's always paying, right? No matter how you look at it, it's always that way. There's always a scenario where if you got a bunch of irresponsible friends, the one person that didn't get arrested with everybody is the one that's coming to bail everybody out. That one person that's more responsible than everybody else, that person is the leader of the pack, believe it or not, right? So from friendships to relationships, you end up getting with a person that is supposed to help you build your own path, where you start building your legacy. And that's going to require you to find the right partner. Now, the no wife, happy life scenario, entertainingly, is a funny gesture to have, but most heterosexual men are going to find them a wife. But a lot of men will get themselves a long-term girlfriend because the marriage part doesn't benefit the man, because the modern 2026 women do not want to fulfill their feminine roles, and they want to behave masculinely and expect themselves to receive all the feminine perks. So they don't qualify as a wife, but they can qualify as a long-term partner. They're just not wife material. And that's when you have a man dating a woman for 10, 15, 20 years and never getting married. That's because we can run this shit together, but I don't want to give you half of my estate. You didn't earn that. It's like being the best person on the team, being employee of the month every month for 20 years, but being passed over for the promotion every year. Because while you do a fantastic job, you're not fulfilling the role of the next position. And as a result, I can't promote you. He says, Trader says, I agree, but you have a serious filter before committing to any one relationship. I personally now have a serious filter, but back in the day, and most men before we come to the show, we don't have the type of filter that we need because most men don't have expectations. Women have a massive expectation. There's a hurdle. It's like climbing the Great Wall of China that all men have to attain in order for the woman to even look at the guy. For most men, she has to be of legal age or unreported because you got some guys that are willing to talk to him at 16, 17, 18 years old. Look at Jay-Z and Will Smith. Because I mean, Jada Pinkett and Beyonce was not of legal age when the men got started. Who was dating Brandy when Brandy started? She wasn't of legal age when she got started, right? So hopefully of legal age or really close to legal age where they're not being reported. So young, alive, they have to have a pulse, attractive. That's like the three characteristics that men are looking at. Cooperative would be beneficial, but we accept a non-cooperative woman because she's more attractive. We put the non-cooperative woman into the category of crazy, and then we do the crazy hot scale, where the hotter she is, the crazier she can be. But ultimately, calling her crazy, she's not actually crazy. She's just disrespectful. She's rebellious, and she's confrontational. And we call that crazy. That's not crazy. That is exactly that: confrontational, rebellious, and disrespectful. And we have to recognize that those three characteristics are red flags in our relationship that we don't want to have. We do not want a rebellious woman that we have to tame, that we have to force to submit to us. We don't. You are supposed to voluntarily join this tribe, right? Just like the voluntary draft. You know what I mean? You're supposed to, instead of voluntary enlisting, you're supposed to voluntarily enlist over here. We're not supposed to have a rebellion, right? We're not supposed to have disrespect. We're not supposed to have any type of behavior that would build resentment, right? She's supposed to be the peace, not the chaos that we try to avoid to keep the peace, right? So when we start recognizing that men really don't want much from a woman, and she still doesn't meet the expectations, but the men will settle for less, lowering their inhibitions in order to find a partner, there isn't enough filtering involved, and that's why we end up with a lot of divorces, because there isn't enough filtering involved. She wasn't paying attention to his decision-making skills. He wasn't paying attention to her lack of cooperation, her rebellious behavior, and you know, or anything like that, right? Trader says, I'm happy for all the women who claim that they don't need a man. We don't need them either. Well, yeah, you're right. Any woman that claims that she doesn't need a man isn't man material. She isn't worthy of a man. And any woman that wants to jump in and comment on that, feel free to. But any woman that claims that she does not need a man by declaration is not worthy of a man, because she has mentally fixated herself to believe that she is better than a man in a relationship, which means that no man that enters a relationship with her will meet her expectations, because she 100% checks off every box that she needs checked off from a man. And if she doesn't have value in the man in the relationship, she will disrespect and mistreat that man. No woman realizes that the man that can do for you everything that you can do for yourself is the right man for you. If he cannot do for you what you can do for yourself, he may not be good enough. But if he can do everything that you can do, then he is good enough for you. Women want a man that can do more for her than what she could ever possibly achieve for herself, and she will call him equivalent to her. But no person would say when they're on the giving end that for every dollar you give me, I must give you 100 and call us equal. That makes absolutely no sense. But if you're on the receiving end, you're going to say, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For every dollar I put up, you give me $100. That makes a lot of sense because you're on the receiving end. But if you're on the giving end, you're going to say that does not make sense at all. Michael says, happy Friday night. He said, I just beat her until get respect. But Michael, you're 71 years old. Back in the day, that used to be the thing. And while we should probably go back to those days, we can't. So now instead of doing that, you gotta be in a situation where it's like, look, because you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to have the kind of partner that's going to voluntarily cooperate, right? Because what employer is over there smacking their employees around on a regular basis? This isn't Gibbs from NCIS. Nobody's smacking their employees around on a regular basis trying to make them perform. He says a citywide garage sale in Montecito, Washington tomorrow. Okay. Okay, so that would be completely off topic because we're talking about compatibilities and relationships. So we're not gonna spin to garage sales because that's completely off topic. And I ask everybody else on the show to stay on topic. So I'm going to ask you, Michael, to stay on topic. Okay. Stay on topic or stay silent, one of the two. Because you can listen and paint while we talk, or you can talk while we're on topic. Right. So a relationship with high compatibility is always going to have less dramatic flair, but it's going to have that endurance. He said, listen, no, wait, well, you can always log on and go to sleep. It is past the bedtime, whichever. You can enjoy the show. But we're not talking about garage sales today. We're talking about compatibility and what to pay attention to find that compatibility. So your comments related to compatibility and your comments related to the discussion is going to be what we're going to be talking about. So what is the question that predicts compatibility? Well, that's what we're leading up to. Will you behave then? You telling me get on with the story. You behave then. Stop being irresponsible. You're the oldest person here. I shouldn't have to chastise you for not behaving correctly. You're not only are you the oldest one here, you're one of the ones that's been here for quite a long time, at least the last 7 months. So you should behave as good as Steven, and Steven is half your age. So there's no reason why you're misbehaving. Lead by example, mister. Compatibility is going to be the reliable vehicle that can handle rough terrain. It's going to be getting you safely to your destination. And when you add chemistry to the solid foundation of compatibility, that is going to be where you're going to get the magic of a truly lasting, passionate partnership that is going to be born out of working together. The goal isn't to choose one over the other. It is to seek chemistry only with the pool of people with whom you are already compatible to. So you want to find a network of people that you are compatible with, and then out of that network of people, you want to find somebody that you have chemistry with. He says, "LOL, older, but the biggest child." Right, and Steven is right. That's a very low bar there. So if Steven is on his best behavior, Michael, it's like a par 100. You should be able to meet that. So this isn't just a philosophical rambling here. It's going to be backed by a growing body of research, and that's why I was going on about this for a brief while. Psychologists have become fascinated with decoding why some relationships strive while others do not. They're moved by the vague idea of getting along and having started to map out the specific ingredients of compatibility. In fact, in a 2023 study published in a journal, Personality and Individual Differences did something remarkable. That was the name of the journal, Personality and Individual Differences. Instead of just asking people what they want in a partner, researchers asked them to identify the areas of similarity that are most crucial for a relationship to function well in a long-term scenario. And they identified 24 distinct dimensions of romantic compatibility. Now, don't worry, you don't need a 24-point checklist on every first date, but understanding how these dimensions are grouped gives us a powerful roadmap. Researchers found these 24 dimensions fall into four main domains, and understanding these key domains would be giving you the capabilities of separating short-term attraction from long-term potential. Now, in the category of domain number one is going to be origins and identities. And this is going to include things like appearance, intellect, job, and family background. So, from the social background of the kind of women that are uh, dressing like we would call it hood, right? They would be more attracted to men that would dress hood, right? So if you walked up to a hood chick dressed in a three-piece suit, she would say that you look weird because she is not attracted to class or elegance or success. She's attracted to hood, right? Big difference. He said, also called the Sibeli effect. Explain the Sibeli effect, because I actually didn't research that one. I would have to wrap my mind around to verify the Sibeli effect. But that's actually a good one to go in there. He said, give me a project trick. I mean, when I was younger, about 25 years ago, a project chick and a hood rat, hey, I would have been okay with rocking out with, but I find myself to actually have too large of an intellect and too large of a logic based personality to deal with a hood rat chick or a project chick. I just couldn't do it because the things that I would do to make sense of multiple personalities, no, that's way off from what we're talking about doing. It's four domains of looking into what compatibility is. So when I was talking about like, hood chicks, my train of thought is going to be different. Like with a hood chick, you might be in a Waffle House and somebody disrespects you and they might end up in a Waffle House fight, and that might be their decision making. My decision making might be to complain to the manager so that I can get a free meal and allow the disrespect to cause me to not have to pay $75 for the food at the table, right? The logic is different. Doesn't matter. I still got a pistol with me, so I could have resolved this situation Suge Knight style, but my thought process is not going to be the same that I'm going to defend street credit versus getting store credit, right? So that's when I start deciding, well, hold on now, I can't really deal with too many, less capable decision makers in my network. Trader says, I can't see Xander dating a hood chick for long. Hell no. It would be a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two. It would not last long. It wouldn't last. It wouldn't be the type of person that I'd be confident with taking out in public. It would be the kind of like in the shadows of the night kind of person. Yeah, it would be wilding out. It'd be wild. I couldn't do it. I would not be able to, first of all, put on a three-piece suit and then go somewhere with champagne and cheese on the menu with the chick that's going to ultimately wear either a skirt too short for her own good or shorts that are so short that the pockets hang low and the booty cheeks is hanging out and the cleavage is hanging out. You know what I mean? It's just the image, the visual image there is going to be he said you can't see you dating a hoodie, period. I can't. I can't. The image would just be conflictual. And me being a minority in a three-piece suit, everybody's gonna think that she's for sale. It's the image would that they would misrepresent me as a pimp and then misrepresent her as for sale. And that is going to be a dynamic that I don't we should have that respectable, they look like a power couple kind of scenario. You know, this isn't hustle and flow, right? You know, if the two of us together look like street trash, then we need to tighten up as a collective. Whether it's just her or me and her, collectively we're supposed to carry ourselves better than that. He said, "You'll drive me crazy in a few minutes." He ain't lying. You are not lying. I be taking my suppressor from Silent Surprise. Chris Benoit situation. Um, Research shows that similarities in the area of origins and identities is most important for short-term relationships. This is like, so if you grew up in the hood and you dating a hood chick, short-term relationship might happen from having uh the same appearance, the same intellectual level, the same job styles. Y'all both were like, she might be a server, you might be a cook, or she might be a dishwasher, and you might be a busboy, and y'all might be okay. Y'all have the same family background. Y'all both come out of that $40,000 a year lifestyle from your family upbringing. That'll get you a short-term relationship, right? And this makes perfect sense. When you first meet someone, your brain looks for quick cues. Are they attractive? Do they have an interesting job? Can they hold a good conversation? These are the things that create the initial spark. That's the chemistry. They are the gatekeepers of attraction, but they have surprisingly little to do with whether you can build a happy life with someone a decade from now. Stephen says, wondering if I will ever find someone right to be honest. Well, yes, but it's going to take a while. And the reason being, Stephen, is that men in transition have a harder time finding the right partner than women in transition. Not just because women have more options than men. It is because if a woman is in transition and she stumbles across a man with more potential than what she currently believes she has, and he is willing to invest in her transition, she's good because she will become the woman that matches the man. So she could be a high school dropout, stumble across a lawyer. She wants to go to law school. He's willing to pay for law school. She gets out of law school. She gets into a firm. Now they're both lawyers. That'll work for her. A man in transition, that's not going to work. If she's a lawyer and he's a drive-through guy, that's not going to work for her. Okay. If he works at a warehouse at Amazon and he has to quit his job and be unemployed for 4 years so that he can pass the bar, so that he can become a lawyer, where she has to sustain his income for 4 years in order for him to make it to her level, that's not going to work for her. Most women are not willing to do that these days, right? A man in transition can find a woman that meets the standard that he used to be in. So if he was in the bottom 25 percentile and he was successfully sustaining himself in the bottom 25 percentile, he can find a woman in the bottom 25%, the 25 percentile, to sustain that standard of living. But if he is trying to progress himself to a better position, he will outpace her, right? So if he was working in a minimum wage job, dating a minimum wage relationship, and then he's trying to progress himself to a six-figure job, that minimum wage relationship is going to drag him down because she's going to be lifestyle creep. He's going to be save and invest. Once you make it through the transition, then now that you are satisfied with where you want to be at, now you can start looking for somebody on the new level. And that person would benefit you now. So when it comes down to men that are in transition, you have to finish the transition and then look around. If you are in transition, only when you find, like you're in a college campus right now, you're not going to find the right one all the time off of a college campus right now because you're in transition and she's in development. So she's not where she wants to be at in life. You're not where you want to be at in life. So y'all have the opportunity to grow together. But where does she want to be at in her future? And is there room for you in it? Is going to be the first question you're going to ask. You're going into psychology. What is she doing? Because if she's not going into a field that is compatible with your availability, your relationship is going to end up being strained. If she wants to be a brain surgeon, she should be a brain surgeon. But that means that she's not going to have any time for you. She's going to be married to the job, right? So you have to find a person that is compatible with the lifestyle that you want to have. Michael says, if she's a lawyer and wants to pull me off my job, then she's paying for my time. Well, that's not even the thing, Michael. The fact is that if you're looking at compatibility, a woman is not willing to wait for a man to transition. Not all the time. If you guys were married for 20 years, maybe she'll wait because she's already invested 20 years into you. But if y'all just met and within 6 months of y'all meeting, you want to start your life over, she's not going to support that. Most women don't support that. If a woman gave you 3 to 5 years of her life and you have a life-altering scenario now, she might be dedicated to you now. But if y'all just met, y'all ain't been together half a year, and you're having a life-changing scenario now, or you started a life-changing scenario when y'all met, and y'all are 3 dates in, and you're in the middle of changing your whole life, this is not a good time for her. She's going to come back after you finish transition. So it's not about her paying for your time. It's about her observing your situation and recognizing that that transition is unstable and that lack of stability is not what she's looking for, because most women are looking for stability and security, right? Trader says there's a study comparing choices in a partner selection of male and female doctors. Male doctors happy to get a KFC chick, but female doctors only marry rich guys. Well, yes, that the hypergamy theory. No matter how good the woman becomes in her life, she is going to expect a guy better than that. If she can make it to a doctor, he's going to have to be either a NBA player, football player, something like that, or he's going to have to be a more a highly respectable doctor or something like that, or a high-priced lawyer or something like that. If she makes it to $100,000 a year, he's going to have to be 150. If she's $100,000 a year woman, she's not, if she's $100,000 a year woman from a Section 8 background, she is not going to want a $30,000 a year man, because if she can make it out of the hood, she expects him to do the same thing. She's not going to go back to the hood and find a guy with ambition and motivation and get him out of the hood and turn him into the same success that she was. She wants the finished product. The value of a woman is not based on her career or her education. So he can be a doctor and she can be a part-time janitor at a KFC, and he will take her and give her everything that he worked for. But if she was a doctor, he could not be a part-time janitor. She is not giving him nothing because she got it on her own. She don't need no man, which is why we said originally that women with that mentality that she can verbally articulate that I don't need a man is not partner material, and she is not worthy of a man, because a man needs a partner, not a dictator, right? We need somebody that's going to come in and aid me, not come in and conquer me. That's going to be the difference. He says, define transition. Is this where she cuts your balls off and out of her purse? No, that's not it. Okay, so a life transition, Michael, is when you don't like the way your life is and you start making changes to make your life better. Take Stephen, for example. He went back to college as an adult. He didn't do college when he was younger, 18 to 30, and finished college and got his degree before he was 28 and went in or tried to get into whatever field he was trying to get into. He went back to college in his 30s, 10 years after high school, went back to college. We call those return students. And he's going to start now in his 30s trying to be successful, where probably by the time he's 45, he will be in the field that he's looking for instead of being in that field for the last 20 years. That's a transition. He's changing from a warehouse job to a prestigious job in psychology. That's a transition. In the warehouse job, he would be compatible with hood chicks, Waffle House workers, Wendy's workers, Amazon workers, delivery drivers, Uber Eats, all of the blue collar workers. He would be compatible with them in a warehouse job. He would not be compatible to doctors, lawyers, and nurses. In a psychology job, he would be compatible to doctors, lawyers, and nurses. So the transition from being a blue collar worker to being in the prestigious medical field changes the market of dating that he's going to be involved in. He's no longer going to be dating girls that are hardworking girls that are like shaking fries and whatever the case may be, pole dancers and everything to that effect. He's actually going to be now dating more career women that came out of college and did something with themselves. That is going to be the difference. Look, Michael put up a comment that didn't get published. What does that comment say? 10-4. There's a comment there that everybody missed. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. It says, oh, they took it out. Is it? Oh, okay. There's a whole paragraph there that I completely missed after that. It says something, something, something. All right. It's interesting that so-called emancipated women still follow the old formula when it comes to relationships. So they have not progressed too much. Well, the thing about it is that the modern day woman is taught through feminism that it is allowed to be fluid, meaning that she can be masculine when it benefits her, and then she can demand feminine benefits when it benefits her. And masculine men are supposed to provide undiscriminately. We're supposed to be generous, meaning that we're supposed to give without the responsibility of reciprocation. She doesn't have to earn it, she just has to be attractive. And that's the reason why women spend so much time, effort, and money into their appearance, because the more attractive she is, the more free stuff she gets. But her attractiveness doesn't bring value to the man besides lust. And him clapping cheeks does not bring value to his life besides lust. So when we start talking about true value, her appearance and clapping cheeks is not on the table for discussion. It is her effort, her mindset, and her capabilities. Now we start looking at her ability to be in charge of his estate has to come from a fundamental place where she has earned that. And if she looks good and he can clap cheeks, that's not in the equation. So now the question is, what does she do to earn that right? So yes, they want to have it both ways. She wants to be in charge as a Miss Independent person, but she still believes that the man is responsible for his role in giving her more than what she got for herself, and then protecting her whenever she can't protect herself. But when she can protect herself, she doesn't want him to protect herself because she doesn't want him to earn his right to be an authority over her. And that's going to be the issue, is that women will devalue a man's efforts, call him a creep, call him a simp, all of this other stuff, when he's fulfilling his role too well in the magnitude where she now qualifies as his dependent. Once she qualifies as his dependent, she qualifies under his authority to submit to his authority. So to prevent from being his dependent, women will fight for the egalitarian model and say, I will pay for 50%, not 100%. I will pay for 50% so that I can maintain 100% control over this situation. But that is not a valuable woman in a good long-term relationship. If she is only willing to pay 50%, a man is not only allowed to offer 50%. A lot of women will look at a man and says, I'll pay for 50%. And they'll be like, no, you're a man. You're supposed to pay for all of it. Equivalently, a woman should be able to do whatever a man says, when he says it, the way he says it to be done. No argument, no back talk, no rebellious behavior. Just do as you're told. If he's supposed to pay 100% of the time, she's supposed to do whatever he tells her to do when he tells her to do it 100% of the time. You go make me a sandwich, go make me a sandwich. Women are not going to agree to it. If I feel like it. But a man can't say, I'll pay the bills if I feel like it. Right? He's no longer a valuable man. If her purse gets snatched and he just watches it happen because he didn't feel like getting involved, he's not a valuable man. Right? If her car gets stolen and he don't do nothing about it, if he feels like it, he's not a valuable man. Right? If her car breaks down and he doesn't fix it, if he didn't feel like it, he's not a valuable man. So you got to look at there's a huge difference in what we should be doing. Hold on, we have one person that's asking to join. So let's see what we've got to say here. What are we joining in? Did you have a comment that you were trying to put up? Holly? I don't see or hear a Holly. So she shared the live. So I'm waiting on like 30 women to come in bottom this because they don't like what I have to say. She's already in here. Can you? No, I can't hear you. I can see you. What's going on with you? That it's on your side, Holly. It ain't on me. There we go. I can hear you now, Holly. All right, I heard you for a moment. How you doing? You sound like a young one. I'm doing okay. What's the deal here?
I don't know. I just wanna talk.
Talk.
I got no one else to talk to. I'm lonely.
Okay. Well, we're in the middle of a live podcast, so we were actually yes. Yes.
Ooh, is it just like is it called this and that podcast?
Yes, it
is.
Like yes.
Cool.
So
Wait, how big is it?
What?
I'm not gonna. Can you ban Jamal, please?
Ban Jamal. Why am I banning Jamal?
He just asked how big it is.
I didn't even see that comment. I would have banned Jamal.
Oh, never mind. He said sorry. He said sorry. It's all good. Ban Philip.
So question. Were you just here to hang out, or were you here to actually comment on what we were talking about at the time?
Oh, what were you talking about?
Well, we were over here having a discussion on YouTube about the observations of compatibility, and we were actually having a side discussion where FX Trader and Michael and Steven from YouTube side of things were discussing the complications with the decision that women want to be in charge without actually contributing to the ability to earn that position. So the question was, did you have something for that?
What you said. I didn't understand any of it.
You didn't understand any of it? Ah. Oh, so you're not old enough to know what we're talking about here. Well, this is a podcast for 18 and up, so because these are middle-aged adults having topics about self-improvement, personal development, and how to make money.
Yeah, I'll see you later, though.
All right, I appreciate you coming through. Thank you so much. There we go. So special shout out to Holly Noli. Michael was saying men don't need to be attractive as long as you can stand on your wallet. Yeah, you're right about that. Employer-employee relationship in a way. Now, every relationship is truthfully going to be an employer-employee relationship, and women are not going to agree to that model. The reason why they're not going to agree to that model is going to be specifically because they don't have control over the narrative. When a woman selects a man for the role of leadership, they want a man to lead, they want a man to protect and provide. Those are like the three top things that a man is supposed to do as a masculine man. And since leading is one of the things that he is supposed to do outside of providing, he is supposed to pay for everything and tell everybody what to do. Whether women agree with that or not, if you want a leader, you want a man that tells you what to do. They don't truthfully want a leader. They want someone to handle all of the busy work. They want someone to handle all of the responsibilities, and they're going to call that leadership. Then they want to have the freedom from all of that responsibility, but the control over all of the assets. So it is not actually a true to life balanced or equality or egalitarian relationship, because she's going to be in a position of a dependent because he is going to be responsible for her. He's going to pay for everything that she needs. He's going to organize all of the stuff that she wants. He's going to buy for all of the stuff that she demands because she's not going to ask for anything. She's going to feel entitled to it. But then she's going to control the narrative. That's where the fluidness of feminism comes from, because he's clapping cheeks. She's now control of his estate. Just because he claps cheeks does not grant her control of the estate. Kings had a queen and a plethora of concubines. None of the concubines that slept with the king had any entitlement to the kingdom. The queen had entitlement to the kingdom, but the queen answered to the king, and all of the concubines answered to the king. The king went off to war and fought for the kingdom. The king negotiated with other kingdoms to make sure the resources was in his kingdom, and the queen sustained the kingdom in the absence of the king, but the queen never rebels against the king. It is an employer-employee relationship. It's going to be reasonably balanced though. Michael says, is she driving? She can drive. She can drive if she wants to drive, but at the end of the day, she's got to, yes, exactly, Stephen, they want an ATM. They can drive if they wanted to drive, but the understanding is that they have to put themselves in a position where they've earned the right to dictate certain terms. And then they have to come from a reciprocity mentality. If they're not coming from a reciprocity mentality, they're putting themselves in the wrong kind of relationship. If she wants to be the leader of her tribe, she very well can. 2026, women can be six-figure women and be the breadwinner and lead the relationship and be a mother of the kids and have a stay-at-home husband. The only problem we have with that particular type of dynamic is that very rarely does a woman have respect for the man in that situation. Women do not value men who do not meet that leadership, protecting, providing quality, those three qualities. If the man doesn't have those three qualities, she has less respect for him, if any respect at all. And ultimately, she loses attraction in him. And ultimately, she ends up cheating on him with a man that more meets those three criteria. Somebody who is in charge and dictates terms in his day-to-day life, somebody who provides, who has the financial stability in his day-to-day life. And if he needs to step up and come to the rescue, he's going to protect whatever he values, right? So, which means that her husband, who doesn't meet that criteria, is going to get cheated on by the other guy, where his second child might actually belong to the other guy. So since it doesn't favor women to not have the guy be in charge, because she's no longer going to be interested in the relationship, she should only find a guy that is going to dictate terms, and then when he gives an instruction, she does whatever he says. And if she's paying attention to his decision-making skills and not his wallet, then she will more often than not be in a position where she is not going to be disappointed in his decision-making skills. But if she's just with the guy because he's spending a bunch of money, he's already making bad financial decisions when she first met him, which means she's not going to trust him with money, which means they're going to argue about money because she wants to do certain things with the money and he's going to waste the money on something else. And that's going to be one of the reasons why the relationship falls apart, because they went into it looking for the wrong things. Trader says, if you marry a billionaire heiress, maybe she can leave for a while. That's not always true, because a billionaire heiress, first of all, doesn't exist. Most successful women are millionaires, multimillionaires, and they're all multimillionaires after divorce, which in my observation would mean that she would not be a valuable woman. Okay. And before you ask me why, I'm going to tell you why. If she divorced her multimillionaire husband, took half of his estate, now she's a multimillionaire divorced woman. She did not cooperate with the top 1%. She did not follow the instructions of the top 1%. She was combative and rebelled against the top 1%. What man on the face of this earth would want a woman that would not cooperate with the top 1%, especially if every other man is not in the top 1%? There is nothing I can say or do with this type of woman that would allow for her to be anything other than a jump off. Because if she would not respect a millionaire, why would she respect a non-millionaire? If she would not respect a billionaire, why would she respect a non-billionaire? Like, take for example, Myron Gaines on Fresh and Fit. He has a lot of women coming to his show. That man is an $8 million plus man, hands down. It is proven. I've done the research on the guy. And some of the women in his show will argue against him, disrespect him, talk down to him, curse him out, try to fight him. One girl actually hit him on the show. If he is a multi-millionaire, he's one step away from $10 million a year kind of situation. And the women that he is talking to, who he is explaining to these women as a multi-millionaire, him and other multi-millionaires look for a certain type of behavior in women. And instead of the women listening and learning, they're combative, rebellious, argumentative, and violent. So any man that is not a multi-millionaire, any man that is not a $100,000 a year man, that is not willing to give her all of his money, she is going to be more combative and more rebellious and more non-cooperative with that other guy, because if she can disrespect an $8 million man, how is she going to treat a $50,000 man? So when you say, oh, well, you know, maybe I can get with a billionaire heiress. No, she got her billions from divorce. So she is not worthy of any man, because if she could not keep a top 1%er, how is she going to cooperate with the bottom 99%? It just doesn't happen. If you got fired off your job for stealing money, what makes you think that a bank is going to hire you? You're blacklisted now, right? Because if you got fired for stealing money, every financial institution is going to assume that you're going to steal money from them. Then most women become millionaires after divorce. It's so true. Steven says, I'll give a test drive if she wanted to buy me stuff. I will take Alice Walton. Well, you could, Michael. She's $134 billion worth, owns Walmart because her husband owned Walmart. Tighten up. She didn't make Walmart. Walmart was made by a man. She inherited Walmart from a man, either through divorce or because her father gave it to her. Still, the observation is going to be the same. And she would not be worth 134 billion. I would have to double check to see if she's actually truly worth 134 billion dollars. I think that's a misconception. She might be worth 1.34 billion dollars, but Elon Musk and Donald Trump are two of the richest people in America, and Donald Trump is at 4 billion. So I can't see her being at 134 billion. OG Kick says, why do some of these women feel so entitled? Because they were raised that way. Oh, he said if she gives you an shit, if she give you an allowance, bro, she'd be giving you $100,000 a week. Like, find something to do. And you would be taking that $100,000 a week and going to the college campus and paying for all them sorority girls' tuition. Got them doing something strange for a piece of change. Because Alice Walton isn't what you wanted. Alice Walton's money is what you wanted. But to answer your question, OG Kicks, you say, well, why do some of these women feel entitled? It's because they were raised that way. And it's not, and this isn't just because single moms raise children incorrectly. That is part of it. Society raises these women this way. Because from the unlegal age of like 13, 14, 15, 16, when the women start hitting puberty, start developing, their shape starts coming in, they start learning how to experience makeup. They're still wearing unnecessarily tight clothes because their parents don't teach them how to be modest. Men of all ages are going to be looking at and commenting on how these women look. Now, what men will do is to filter their inappropriate compliments for the attractiveness of these children, these young adults, is they're going to buy them stuff. Now, a woman's mentality stops developing the moment that she realizes that her body can get her whatever she wants. Whatever age that is, whether it's 16, whether it's 18, whenever she realizes that my body can get me whatever I want, that's when she stops developing mentally. The women that struggle from the ground up, never appealing to the societal expectations from men, those women will be more responsible. The ones who have younger siblings that they got to take care of, elderly people that they got to take care of, the ones that have dependents under their belt from 9, 10, 11 years old, those are going to be the ones that are going to be more responsible. The ones that have no responsibility, because she's cute, I'll buy her food. She's cute, I'll pay for her stuff. She's cute, I'll pay her fare. She's cute, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do the other. Then date. For every one yes that a man gets, a woman gives out 499 no's. So each guy that's buying her something, flowers, jewelry, clothes, shoes, clubs, trips around the world, vacations, stuffed toys, chocolates, all of this other stuff, that buying her phones and paying her phone bill and everything to that effect, all of the stuff that men do to get her attention, she now realizes that her body and her time has a monetary value. So she no longer has to develop her mental independence. She's going to be coddled by her parents, because parents treat girls differently than what they treat boys. They're delicate with girls. They power bomb and body slam boys. They're going to be more protective over the girls of virtue, but the guys can go out there and, as many as they can conquer, right? We're going to have the girls are going to get more. The boys are going to be forced to go out and earn more. Then once they turn 18, 19, 20 years old, all of the men are like, hey, that's all right. You got ladies' night, girls get in free, girls drink free. You've got social functions where girls get discounted prices. Men have to pay double. Girls don't have to pay as much. Then when the guys show up, the girl is on the guy's bar tab because she's cute. and she's talking to him. And that's going to be her whole life. As long as society is paying for her to breathe without having to perform, the more money that society spends on that woman, the more that woman is going to feel like she's entitled to it. And look, before anybody gets bitter about it, all people do the same thing. Every child that gets an allowance from their parents, every child, boy or girl, that gets an allowance from their parents for doing absolutely nothing, are going to feel entitled to the allowance. When it's payday, the kids are going to be sitting there, where's my allowance? You're supposed to give me this. You've been giving it to me all this time. I've never had to do anything to get it. It's time for me to get my allowance. Where's my money? It's my money. It's my allowance. I need it. I have plans for it. That's how the children are, because they didn't earn it. It was just handed to them. And it was handed to them so long, they expect it. And that's going to be the exact same thing with female development, is that society gives a woman so much that they stop appreciating it and start expecting it. And the more they get, the more they expect. And then when a man shows up trying to be the good man in her life, he has to now meet par for all of the other men who just gave it to her for nothing. So you find a girl that she's like an 8 or a 9. Celebrities pay her way, $10,000, free trip from Georgia to California and back, penthouse suites, jacuzzi tubs, Lambos, Hellcats, Bugattis, mansions on a private island. This is the lifestyle that she's exposed to. She's not worthy of it. She's exposed to it. When a Popeyes night shift manager walks up and starts talking to her, he does not have $10,000 to give to her in a year. She can get $10,000 in a night. She is not going to look at that guy and think that he's got a good personality, he's got a good character, he's got a vision. He wants to start up his own chain of restaurants, which could ultimately make her a multi-millionaire if she stuck with him. She doesn't want that guy because she can have fun, not have to be responsible, and be kept by 10 guys that are all on the Lakers, right? That's going to be why they have this sense of entitlement. It is a social structure. The Western style behavior of women in Eastern side of the world is going to be the exact same thing, just at a cheaper price. Women in Japan, in Indonesia, in the Philippines, in Asia, they're going to have that same Western style behavior in the inner cities, in the expat neighborhoods, but the expectation is still going to be cheaper. Because since the Philippines is 30% of the cost of America, a $100,000 a year man in America is a $30,000 a year man in the Philippines, right? But if you went into the outskirts, off into the farmlands, off into the countryside, and found a woman who never was given anything from anybody, she got the bare necessities from her parents, and all she did her whole life was get out there and help people, that woman would not have a monetary value on her looks or her body. She has learned her whole life to be helpful. So when you start giving her things and you start doing stuff for her, she's going to appreciate that because she's not used to it, right? Which means that she's going to be more valuable to you because she's going to be more willing to help because she can, and that's all she knows. Western style women are not willing to be useful because they have learned that they don't have to be useful. They have to be present. That's why a woman will get with a man, she'll give him sex, spend 5 or 10 years with him, divorce him, and her excuse for the divorce is, I gave you the best years of my life, not I built your empire, not I expanded your business, not I got you that multi-billion-dollar merger. I gave you time. And my time apparently is more valuable than your time because, well, you gave me time. My time could have better been used elsewhere with men that had more money than you, right? So when she divorces and takes half of your estate, she's taking half of your estate for her time and her body, not her contributions to your estate. To answer your question. And that's going to be a red flag that men overlook when they're looking for compatibility. Trader says, you are right. The society became rude and crude and not in a good way. It's a shock when women get older and they gravy train the stops. Oh, when they get older and the gravy train stops. Well, see, that's going to be the other thing, because when women get older, they're not as valuable. Women don't like it when I say this. Their value is going to be on reproduction. When you cross over 40, you hit menopause. Reproduction is no longer an issue. It's no longer an option for you, at least not in a healthy way. You're no longer going to be an option. You have gone from being top tier to mid to bottom tier. You're entitled because you spent the last 30 years of your life getting everything that you wanted from society. So now you have expectations. You quote unquote know what you want, but you're not quote unquote willing to do as you're told. You are assertive and dominant because you had to be assertive and dominant because you were attracted to men that were selfish and uncaring. So you now, as a woman scorned, are now trying to force your way into a relationship to force a man to be the kind of man that you want him to be without you being the kind of man, without you being the kind of woman he wants you to be, because you believe that since you're entitled to it, you believe that you're supposed to get this by default. Just like when Catherine was on the show the other day, and she thought that because she's got a degree and she's got a job, that she's supposed to be entitled to certain things. And I made her clear, hey, your degree and your job doesn't make you valuable to a man. So since those things are how you self-identify, you understand that those things don't bring value to the relationship. Exactly what else do you have to offer? She was insulted by the fact that it doesn't, your career path and your intellect doesn't bring value. But she would believe that because she's smart, because she's self-sufficient or independent, and she's got her own career, that she is a top tier woman at 53 years old. As soon as you said you were 53 years old, that puts you on the bottom 25% of valuable women. Then you prioritize your career over your family. That puts you on the bottom 10% of women. You divorced a man that you didn't have value in, married a man that was equivalent to the first man, because you divorced a disabled man and married a disabled man, which means you got bad decision-making skills because you didn't have value in the first disabled man because he wasn't a provider. And now you have a second disabled man that's also not a provider, right? And you're claiming that you're going to be a valuable woman to a man that can do more for you than what you can do for yourself. Well, if you don't have good decision-making skills, how can you back my play? You're going to disagree with me because you put money on the table. You're going to want to do it your way because you've got a degree. And she had 2 degrees, so she feels extra smart. That's like that's like if you were on a Big Bang Theory trying to argue with Leonard and Sheldon. They're living in an apartment complex with a waitress. No matter how smart you are, my guy, you don't have the skill set to build a financial estate where you have a mansion that's taken care of, where you have 25 people on the grounds that is part of your staff that keeps you from having to do things. You couldn't build, no matter how many PhDs you have, you could not build a financial estate. Yeah, you're smart, but book smarts and street smarts are not the same. Book smarts on paper and real world application are not the same. So if she's got 3 degrees from college, but she can't follow my instructions on how to change a tire, where is the value? And if I tell you take the car to the shop and then I'll come and get you, and you tell me that you want to put on your makeup and go to this yoga thing first and then go to the shop, my timeline is no longer feasible with that because you are unwilling to cooperate with me. At the end of the day, whatever I had planned, if I had a specific person that was going to work on this car at a specific time and I was supposed to slide in, give him the money, get the car back same day because you want to go do something else, now we're in a situation where the car's going to sit there for a few weeks because the guy that was waiting on the car has left. And when we have to argue in the relationship in order to accomplish something, I have to beat my wife or win over my wife, because I don't want to use the word beat my wife because Michael's sitting over here talking about punching women in the face. I would have to win the argument with my wife almost like pleading my case to a judge so that I can then take the final decision and go to society and win the transaction in society. I should not have to conquer my wife in order to conquer the world. My wife is supposed to help me conquer the world. If she's not going to help me conquer the world, she's part of the problem. And women are supposed to be selecting men that can conquer the world. And she's not supposed to challenge his authority to make sure that he's still capable of conquering things. She is supposed to be supportive to his capabilities of conquering things. She should not have to be conquered because she chose a conqueror. He didn't hit her over the head with a club like the caveman and drug her back to the cave. She selected him the way you select a lawyer. She selected him the way you select an accountant. She selected him the way you select a tax agent at tax time. And if you select a tax agent at tax time, you trust that tax agent to make the right decisions to get you your refund. She selects a man, she's supposed to trust his judgment so that he can improve her standard of living. And she is supposed to aid him however he sees fit so that he can improve her standard of living. That is her reward for her effort, is the more money she helps him make, the more money she has to spend. Right? So there's no reason why women should walk into a relationship with the self-entitlement of, I deserve this because I was here. Because while that was a good song sung by Beyonce, I was here only means that your ass showed up. You ain't put in no damn work. Now, domain number 2. This is going to be another compatibility out of 4. 2 out of 4 domains that we're talking about today. Domain number 2. That is a good sign of compatibility. Emotions. Positive emotions, not negative and toxic ones. This domain is going to be about your inner world. It's going to include your sense of humor, because if you guys don't have the same sense of humor, she's going to think it's inappropriate. He's going to think it's not funny. Y'all aren't going to laugh at each other's stuff. There's going to be awkward moments of silence. It just doesn't play out well. Your level of romanticism, being able to be creative about showing how you care about your partner, where guys, instead of going out there buying a bunch of expensive stuff, put in some effort, do some arts and crafts, build something for her. Ladies, instead of just putting on something skimpy and sleeping with the guy, go find his childhood meal and cook it from scratch. Bake something, clean the house twice. You know what I mean? Detail his car, do something of value, give the dogs a haircut, do something of value, right? Teach the children how to listen to their father instead of disrespecting the man in front of his kids. Do something that shows a higher level of partnership. How to express your emotions. Most people look at emotional intelligence the wrong way. A lot of people believe that emotional intelligence is my ability to stand on my beliefs and argue against you. That is not emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is recognizing that what just happened made me upset, but I am still going to negotiate this with you in a way where we both reasonably are satisfied with the outcome. That is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not cursing somebody out because you know that you're right. Emotional intelligence is recognizing that the other person is wrong and still negotiating with that person on a resolution where you get some of what you needed out of that discussion. Right? He said emotions in a positive vibe. That's correct. And vibing, you know, we use the word vibing in modern terms, but vibing is almost a new conceptual way of resonating with compatibility. Compatibility. If the rhythm is the same or similar, if there isn't adverse waves in our boat, we're good, right? But vibing requires us to have the fundamental foundation to be able to get along with one another. Because if we walk down the street, superstitiously, people are going to say, well, if there's a pole between us, we're not supposed to split the pole. Well, that depends on what's going on. If there's enough pole between us, should you follow me to the right, or should I follow you to the left, or should we just split this pole? Vibing is not giving a shit about that pole. Y'all get past that damn pole however the hell y'all get past that pole and keep on walking. Now, conceptually speaking, women are going to want the dominant man to take her by the hand and take her around the pole the direction he went. Submissively, women are also going to expect the man to follow her because she's in charge. Notice the woman wants the man to grab her by the hand and take her around the pole the direction that he went, but she wants him to submissively follow her around the pole the direction that she went because she's in charge. Same time now. So which one works? Which one works? If she's going to follow your lead, if you ain't said shit and you walk past the pole on the right side and she didn't want to split the pole, she would stop what she's doing, go around the pole and follow you down the right side. Then the next time y'all pass a pole, she should step to the right so that she can pass the pole on the right without y'all having to split the pole. That's going to be vibing. But vibing is going to be your ability to blend into the current situation. So if we're in a situation where I need to talk and you need to shut up, instead of me asking you to be quiet or telling you to shut up, you recognize that I need to speak up and you're going to stop talking. If this was supposed to be a short interaction and it turns out to be a long conversation and I need to have a conversation with this guy, you need to sit down. Instead of me telling you to sit down, you should just recognize I should grab a seat because this might take a while. If I'm in a situation where I'm talking about something important, you were not involved in the original discussion, and now I'm having a follow-up discussion in front of you, you should recognize that you don't belong in this discussion. You should be able to see the fact that you should remove yourself from the conversation and make it an excuse to leave the conversation instead of just waiting here and having me tell you to give us the room, having me tell you to walk away, having me tell you to go wait over there. I shouldn't have to tell you to go wait over there. You should understand that you weren't involved in whatever's going on right now, and you probably shouldn't be involved in what's going on right now. So let me go over here and go find something to do. That's vibing. Modern times, we don't consider that vibing. Modern times, what we consider vibing is you brought the weed, I roll up the blunt, you light it up, and we smoke it. That's what we consider vibing. But that's not vibing, because you guys are not accomplishing anything other than destroying brain cells together. Vibing, instead of just answering each other's questions or finishing each other's sentences, vibing is when you recognize that it's time for you to leave. And when I say I'm leaving, or I say, come on, let's go, you done already grabbed your stuff and started headed for the door. If you know that you're with the kind of person that's not going to have you walk across the parking lot because it's raining outside, if we walked to the door and it is raining outside and we didn't bring an umbrella because it's Florida, fucking weather changes, it's crazy, right? You stop in the dry area. He should be able to go get the car and bring it back to you without having to tell you nothing. He should not have to tell you, wait here. And if he told you to wait here, you shouldn't have to argue with him and say, no, that's okay. I'm good. I'm not going to melt in the rain. I didn't ask you. I told you to wait here because I don't want you to get wet. I'm going to get the car and bring it here. Right? So in that moment, if you know that I am not going to have you walk across the parking lot in the rain, you should not have to ask me. You should just know that this is where the sidewalk stops. That's where the rain starts. I'm going to stand here. He's going to bring the car around. That's vibing. Right? Women believe that, a man should open a door for her on a regular basis. I'm not going to argue against that. But when your ass sit down in the car, you should lean over and open a door for him so that by the time he gets around to the other side of the car, the fucking car is open on his side too. Right? That's vibing. Yeah, not too many people talk about that part. If I open the door for you and then open the door for me, it's every man for himself on my side of the field, but every man for you on your side of the field. That makes no sense. That's rare these days. Tell me about it. Tell me, but just because she opened the door for you don't mean that she gonna follow instructions. You know what I mean? So at the same time, if she's not willing to follow instructions, she can open the door for you after you open the door for her, but she's not gonna follow instructions. That's not gonna be a good relationship, because if you tell her take the car to the shop, if you tell her take the car to the dealership and she asks you why, that the relationship is over. The relationship is over. If I called you up and I didn't say anything other than, hey babe, you got the car? Yeah, bring it to me. If that's all I said, the only question that you should ask is, where are you? If you ask me why, the relationship is over. Because if you brought me the damn car, you would see why. When you get there, you will know why. Because I'm either going to trade it in or something happened to the car that I've got, which requires the car that you have. So I should not have to explain to you why I'm giving you the instruction. You should follow the instruction because I called you and gave you an instruction. He said, I don't care if it's Alice Keys. He said, I don't care if it's Alicia Keys. I'm not opening the door. Look, bro, it could be Beyonce. It could be Nicki Minaj. It could be Cardi B. It could be Ashanti. It could be Aaliyah from back in the day, and she was fine. It could be Eve from the Rough Riders. And bro, if you're not following instructions, you earn stuff like that. I'll get the door for you because your hands is full. But your hands is full because you're carrying stuff for me. If you carrying stuff for you, you got this. We're gonna work for one another. You know what I mean? We also have to recognize that one of the things that's in the second domain is going to be conflict styles. Interestingly, studies have found some gender-based patterns in conflict styles. Men tended to prioritize similarities in emotional expression and shared activities, while women placed a higher value on shared morals and empathy. Feelings over productivity, right? It gets a step deeper. It's not just about what you do for a living, because that is fundamentally going to be a judgment call. It's going to also be about how you feel your way through the world. Domain number 3, opinions. This is going to be where we get to the core of who you are. This includes your morals, your religious and spiritual beliefs, your social and political views, and your core values. The research here is going to be crystal clear. This domain is one of the top predictors of long-term compatibility. Specifically, the study identified having similar viewpoints on major issues like gender roles and fundamental questions of rights and wrongs as the single most important compatibility characteristic. Why do you think that is? Well, because if you and your partner have different answers to this question, what is a good life? Every major decision you face can become a battleground. You're operating from 2 different moral compasses, creating a constant tension that chemistry cannot fix. Domain number 4, lifestyles, right? When we arrive at this particular domain, researchers identified this as highly critical for long-term partnerships. Okay? This is going to be the nitty-gritty of your daily existence, lifestyles. It's going to include your social habits. Are you a homebody or a social butterfly? Are you modest and reserved, or are you a project chick? Your leisure activities, your food preferences, your desire for neatness versus who cares? Somebody will pick it up. And your daily routines. This might seem trivial compared to deep moral values, but this is going to be the arena where compatibility is tested every single day. If one person's nervous system is calmed by order and the other person's nervous system is calmed by spontaneity, you will constantly be, in small but significant ways, a source of stress for each other. So if I like structure and you like random behavior, the less random behavior I allow to happen around me, will cause you conflict. And the more random behavior you cause that I can't contain will cause me conflict. That's why you have to make sure that you're paying attention to behavior patterns. The critical takeaway from this research is a fundamental shift from how we're taught to date. We are drawn by domain 1, origins and identity. We are intrigued by domain 2, which is emotions, but we build a life and a foundation of domain 3, which is opinions, and with the daily reality of domain 4, which is lifestyle. Lasting love isn't found in having the same taste in music. It's found in sharing a moral compass and having a rhythm of life, vibing, that can harmonize without constant, exhausting effort. That's vibing. Take that to the bank, cash that check, get you some change back. Now, we're halfway through. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe, mash those reaction buttons while you're here. We can talk about values and lifestyles. But there's one factor that cuts deeper and is more predictive of your relationship success than almost anything else. It's the hidden engine that powers your interactions, especially when life gets hard. Is it your stress response that we need to be paying attention to? Is it your stress response? So when the pressure is on, or not, is it? It is, in fact. So I should not ask it as a question. I should make it as a declaratory statement. It is your stress response. This is going to be the most important part about things. When the pressure is on, a health scare, job loss, family crisis, whatever's going on, you find out that she's pregnant and it's not yours. The pressure is on. Your polished best behavior, self, is going to go offline. Your contained behavior goes out the window. You said no pickles and they put extra pickles on your sandwich. You throwing a sandwich back at them, kind of behavior patterns. Your brain defaults to primal survival patterns when conflict exceeds your tolerance levels. These are often categorized in popular psychology using a helpful model of 4 main types. We are used to the 2 main types, which is fight or flight. And that's because we do not recognize the other 2 types on a day-to-day basis, which is freeze and fawn. Fighting or running, we usually consider running as a tactical retreat in a masculine fashion. Freezing ultimately comes from not knowing what to do and just staying still and not taking any action. Fawning, we don't talk about very often, dwelling on situations. But we're going to go ahead and understand the default responses and your partners, because this is going to be like getting the ultimate cheat sheet for your relationship. So I'm going to go into deepness about this. Let's start with the fight response. A fight response is going to be the person that moves towards a threat, not away from it. Under stress, they can become confrontational, controlling, or critical. Their subconscious belief is, if I can control the situation, I can make it safe. They want to solve the problem right now. To themselves, they feel proactive. To a partner, they can feel aggressive or overwhelming. Their energy says, let's deal with this, which can be incredibly useful. But it can also escalate conflict if it is not managed with self-awareness. So if 2 fight types get together, their arguments can become explosive battles for control. We find that a lot of the times in Western culture, the African-American women are going to be more aggressive than any other race. If you don't deliver it to her the right way, she will combat you until y'all run out of breath. It is not about being right or wrong. It is not about resolving the situation. It is about her not liking the delivery of the message or the moment in which the message was delivered. The facts don't matter. And she will argue you down until what was said no longer makes sense, and how you said it, you're apologizing for. And after you've apologized for it, she's won the argument, she's walked off, but what you said never got addressed. It's a huge issue. I don't know why they believe that that's okay, but it's a huge issue. Now, the flight response, this is going to be the mirror image of that. This person moves away from threats. When stress hits, they withdraw. They avoid conflict. They might physically leave the room or emotionally retreat into work or their phones. Their subconscious belief is, if I can escape this feeling, I will be safe. They aren't withdrawing because they don't care. They're withdrawing because they're overwhelmed. This response creates the classic pursuer distancer dynamic, the push-pull dynamic. A fight partner sees their flight partner's withdrawal as abandonment and chases after them, which in turn makes the flight partner feel even more cornered and desperate to escape. It's a painful, self-perpetuating dance. This would be the scenario where the man doesn't want to argue with the woman. He walks away from the conversation. She's following him, poking him in the back of the head, talking bad about his mama, and trying to hit him with a pot. She's got the fight behavior. He's got the flight behavior. As he retreats from the conflict, she chases him with the conflict. Still never resolves anything. Steven says she'll be arguing alone. That depends. That depends. Because see, if she brings the problem to the table where you don't have a problem, but she does, she'll be arguing alone because you can perceivably ignore her. But see, if you have a problem and your goal is to resolve that problem, no matter what she's telling you about how you should rephrase how you said what you said, and she's arguing about everything under the sun, talking bad about your mama, something about your childhood, your insecurity, this, that, and the third, when you're articulating your complaint about your dissatisfaction in the relationship, she's dancing around the main topic, evading accountability, evading responsibility, and making how you feel bad about what you're going through your fault on making her feel bad about finding out about it. In that situation, Stephen, you're going to be arguing with her because your goal was to get her to understand your lack of satisfaction in this situation and hopefully obtain improved behavior from her. If you are not getting an understanding from her that you are not satisfied with her, you are going to argue with her until you recognize, I need to break up with her because it's not going to work. But you will end up in an argument. It's not going to be a one-sided discussion. He said, I'll tell her, go ahead real quick in an instant. Now you won't. You say that now while you're single, but now you won't. You've been sleeping with the same partner consistently for the last 6 to 9 months. You find something simple like, the dishes don't get washed quite often. You're starting to develop roaches in the house. You're not there often enough to get it done. She's there more than enough time to get it done. You ask her about it. She wants to start an argument with you about, why not buy a dishwasher or pay a housekeeper or argue you down in ways to make you feel bad about why aren't you doing it? At the end of the day, if you're asking her to help you keep the house cleaner than what it's being cleaned, and she's arguing against you on a situation, your goal was to get her to help you more often in ways that you actually benefit, not just be productive in ways that satisfies her. And in that scenario, you're not just going to tell her, oh, we'll go ahead, you can just leave. You're not going to default to you can just leave with every discussion with your girl. if she doesn't agree with you off the bat, you're not going to just, well, you could just leave every single time. After a while, after 3 to 6 months of arguing with her, a year, 2 years of arguing with her, you're going to get tired of arguing with her, and then you're going to default to you can just leave. But the first time that you believe that she should do something different than what she's doing, and she disagrees, you're going to argue with her because she's going to stand on the position that she shouldn't have to do anything that you say because she's a woman. And you're going to be standing on the position that as a partner, you're supposed to cooperate with me. And I'm not getting that cooperation. And you guys are going to go back and forth because straw man topics, if you use any type of hypothetical example, she's going to straw man that hypothetical. And now the conversation is no longer your original complaint. It is now 3 hypothetical scenarios down the line. And you guys are going to be going back and forth metaphorically without ever addressing the core issue. Like if we use hypothetically, the car doesn't have enough gas in it. You got to go to work. You're late for work because you got to fill up the car because every time she takes your car, she brings it back with no gas in it, right? You use a hypothetical scenario about how her time would be compromised if you did something that messed with her time. Then she's going to jump on that conversation and start trying to devalue, oh, well, why would you do that, blah, 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 blah. You're insensitive, you're insecure, blah, 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 blah. But the core fundamental issue was, you're bringing my car back with no gas in it. Bring my car back with a full tank of gas in it so that I don't have to get the gas when you use my car, right? Ultimately, that conversation would devalue itself to a level where you just say, fuck it. When she comes back, now I got to get out of bed, get in the car, go to the gas station, put gas in the car, and come back to the house so that I have gas in the car because she doesn't have enough respect for me to put gas in my car. Or you're going to be the person that gets up extra early because you know that the car's got no gas in it. So now I got to get up extra early so that I can spend an extra 20 minutes at the gas station putting gas in the car. You're going to change your routine to accommodate the lack of cooperation because you're with a partner that is conflictual instead of cooperative. These are the things that men have always done instinctively to maintain peace in a relationship in order to keep the partner that they have, because it's harder for a man to start over than it is for a man to deal with the shit that they've chosen. So I don't believe that you would just dismiss her off the first argument. Maybe if you had an argument every week, the first 5 days that y'all are talking to one another, that might be the case. But more often than not, I don't think that that would be the case. I believe that if you're, especially your first argument, your first disagreement, things were in a honeymoon phase for the first 3 months, and in month 5, you're starting to have disagreement on something. That first couple of discussions, you're going to be trying to work it out with her because things are good and you believe that she might be the one. Now, the freeze response. This is going to be the person that doesn't move towards or away from the situation at all. They just shut down. Under stress, they can feel numb, stuck, or disassociated, like their internal computer just crashed. They might go silent or fear paralyzed. Their subconscious belief is, if I don't move, the threat might pass me by. To a partner, this can feel maddening. It can feel like being met with a brick wall and can be misinterpreted as not caring at all, when in reality, they care so much that their system has short-circuited. Now, the fawn method, this is going to be something that we're not usually talking about on a regular basis. Somebody typed $100. Well, typing $100 in the comment section doesn't actually give $100 in the comment section. So 502, if you want to give $100 in the comment section, you can go ahead and do that. He wanted to get attention, so he typed $100 and put it up there like that's supposed to trigger me for. Oh, that was cute. Oh, you know, it goes across the screen if you do it. Now, the fawn response. This is going to be people-pleasing response. This person tries to appease the threat, right? Like I said, dwelling on it too much. Under stress, they immediately abandon their own needs to placate the other person. If subconscious beliefs are, if I can make you happy, you won't hurt me, and I will be safe. Happy wife, happy life thing about it. They are the ones who will stay and say you are right, even when you're wrong in an argument, just to make the argument stop. In the short term, this de-escalates the conflict, but in the long term, it is devastating. The fawner builds deep resentment from consistently suppressing their needs, and their partner ends up in a relationship with a ghost, a curated persona, not a real, authentic person. Now, here is going to be the secret to the compatibility. It is not about having some stress responses. Compatibility is found in two things. First, awareness. Do you both understand your own and each other's patterns? A lot of the times, men will ask a woman, what does she want? What does she need? What does she like? And how can I help you? How can I make you smile? How can I help you stop crying? Women do not ask any of those questions. Since a woman does not ask any questions, but she expects her partner to know what's going on instinctively without being told, she should be more observant. Women swear to God that they have good intuition to know when their man is cheating, but they don't have good intuition to know when their man is hungry, to know when their man is hurting, to know when their man is tired, to know when their man is stressed. So since your intuition is selfishly driven by your ability to not be replaced by a woman that is more cooperative to your man, you don't have good intuition, right? If you think he's cheating, then you know you've been fucking up this whole time. Because he wouldn't be if you had been doing it right. It is what it is. So are you aware of your partner? If you know that he operates things in a certain fashion, certain times of the day, certain days out of the week, if you come across certain things, do you clock in and just start knocking those things out so that he doesn't have to do it anymore? Or do you just linger at the fact that he's got it? Awareness is huge, but regulation is going to be another one. Does at least one of you have enough emotional regulation to break the reactive cycles and choose a more conscious response? A fight responder who can recognize their urge to control and instead soften their approach, or a flight responder who can notice their urge to flee and instead stay. I'm feeling overwhelmed and I need 10 minutes to regather myself, but I promise that I'll talk about this in a minute, is a way of demonstrating compatibility in an action. And let me calm down for a second, and then we're going to talk about this so that we can get to the bottom of how we're going to fix this problem. Not he said, she said, not blaming you, not blaming myself, or whatever the case may be. We had a problem that needed to be resolved, and this is what we're going to do to resolve it. If the problem was the car has no gas in it when it comes back to the house, the solution would be putting gas in it on the way back to the house. If the problem is you didn't put gas in the car on the way back to the house because you didn't have the money, the solution is for you to have enough money before you leave to put gas in the car when you get back. These are solutions to the problems, not it's your fault that the car doesn't have gas in it or you're the reason why I get to work late. That is placing blame, right? We want to avoid placing blame. This is going to be the real work of a relationship. It's not about never getting stressed out, because you're going to get stressed out when you're interacting with someone else. It's going to happen. It's going to be about how you navigate that storm together. Now, before we move on to the next quarter of what we got going on, we're going to be talking about how you figure all of these things out yourself. This seems like a good moment to check in with you guys. If you're finding this breakdown helpful and it's giving you guys some aha moments, make sure that you guys take a second to hit that subscribe button, mash those reaction buttons, and show support to the channel, because my goal is to give you guys the tools to build your relationships in ways that feel as good as they look, but also make them better. And your support is going to make that possible for me to keep creating the content, especially on TikTok. We got to get a lot more traffic from you guys on the TikTok side of things. And I'm also going to be genuinely curious here. As you've heard the 4 stress responses, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which one did you guys recognize most in yourself versus somebody that you socialize with on a regular basis, family member, friend, whatever? Let me know in the comment section. There's no shame or judgment here. Seeing these patterns in ourselves is going to be one of the first steps towards building healthier connections with other people. Because in order for you to change things around you, you must first change yourself. Standing on non-negotiable expectations for a behavior, you must hold yourself accountable to a certain degree and then reinforce that accountability to the people in your network. So you have to be self-aware before you can be externally enforcing. Okay. Understanding your stress response is going to be the master key to your relationship and also shows high levels of emotional intelligence. But that key opens the door to the house, and the house needs to be built on solid foundation. So if we zoom out, we can see that deep long-term compatibility rests on 5 structural pillars. If any of these are fundamentally cracked, the entire structure is going to be at risk. Your values and worldview would be like the first pillar, the foundation. And this is going to be the single most important pillar, the concrete slab on which everything else is built. Your values are your personal North Star. This goes beyond general ideas like honesty. This is about your core world views, morals, and ethics. Do you agree on what constitutes a betrayal? What are your definitions of loyalty and commitment? You guys have to find that out in the beginning or as soon as possible. Family and life structure, highly important for the average man that's looking for a traditional family from a traditional woman. Do you share the same visions for marriage and family? Even if you're both not in the same position of getting married, if you're both into the same observations of prioritizing family dynamics over career and producing quality time to each other over sacrificing quality time for extra job tasks, that's highly important. Do you both want children? If so, what are your core beliefs about parenting? I'm a perfect example of capitalism and corporal punishment. So, my children are going to get an allowance. They're going to earn their keep. And if they misbehave, they're going to catch a beat. When we start talking about parenting, we're going to have the co-parent that's going to have to come and chime in and say, well, maybe I'm more of a, we're going to talk about it and have a timeout kind of parent. My negotiation on that dynamic would be, hey, let's do both. We're going to start with mom's going to provide the non-confrontational discipline. So we've got levels to this. And when you get the second penalization, you go talk to dad. So the first time you mess up, when it's a light conflict that causes a light disciplinary response, mom's going to handle it. When it's a heavy scenario or repeat behavior, dad's going to handle it. So if we're in a situation where my child is about to make a mistake that I don't like, I'm going to go get mom. Mom's going to be like, all right, we're going to go take a time out. You're going to stand here on 1 foot holding these 2 pails of water for 20 minutes. Now, break somebody's car window, mom's going to say, I'm going to go get that. Let me find my belt. The difference in discipline. But notice there's a compromise. We get the best of both worlds. Mom going to talk to you about it. I'm going to break your butt bone. So, so we decide which parent provides discipline in this situation, right? And the harsher the action, the more definitively dad's going to step in and provide the consequences, right? Because we would prefer as parents to provide enough discipline to our children at the house so that we don't have our children experiencing the harshness of society by police and ICE agents in the streets. Just saying. Because I would prefer for my child to be mad at me for catching a whooping in the bathtub than for my wife to be mad at me for burying my child at 17 years old because he disrespected a police officer. So when people say, oh, well, we don't need corporal punishment. All right. Y'all see what these folks is out here doing. They're not going to treat your child the way you're going to treat your child. You got to prepare your child for the future, but you need to show them the true consequences of actions. And a lot of times the true consequences of actions is to get your ass whooped. Now, social and political beliefs, this is going to be a hard one. This is going to be a hard one. While you don't need to agree on every single policy that happens, a deep dive in your fundamental views on social justice, equalities, and humanity will create endless friction in your relationship, right? Because just like we've been talking about the double standards of equality in relationships with egalitarian style feminist models, the fact is that if you're dating a person that strongly believes that they can be in charge and not be responsible at the same time, you're going to provide everything to that person and have no control over your assets. You're going to be an objective party in that relationship. You're not going to feel like that's fair. If the roles were reversed and you were benefiting from somebody else's efforts while leading the reins, you would not have any objections to it. But if you were fundamentally funding the decision making of somebody else, you would have an objection to it. So that model doesn't work. And being a man of uniformity, my ethics and morals comes from doesn't matter who does it, the outcome should be the same. So if you're in charge, I'm supposed to be treated as good as you get treated when I'm in charge. If that's not going to be the case, you can't be in charge. Right? The ultimate test for this pillar is going to be, do you share the same definition of a life well lived? Pillar number 2, life goals and lifestyles. This is going to be the blueprint. If values are going to be the why, life goals and lifestyles are going to be the what and the how. This is the practical architecture of the life you are building. Career and ambition. How important is professional achievements to each of you? How do you balance your work and your personal life? Financial habits. This one should be one of the top reasons for divorce. And it is that way for a reason. Are you a saver or a spender? Do you see money as a tool for security or for creating experiences? Are you the person that fears missing out, living your life once, at FOMO and YOLO? Or are you building your retirement so that you have a future of no stress? That's huge. Social and leisure time. This is the day-to-day texture of your life. Does one of you need a lot of social stimulation while the other one is a homebody? If your methods for relaxing are in constant opposition, one of you will always feel resentful. The test here is going to be pragmatic. Can you create a daily existence that feels harmonious to both of you? That's vibing. Pillar number 3, emotional intelligence and communication. This is going to be the wiring. And this is the electrical and the plumbing systems of the house that you're building with your relationship. How energy and information flows between you. Emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, understand, and manage your own emotions and to do the same for others. Self-awareness. Can you identify what you are feeling and why you're feeling that way? Self-regulation. Can you pause before reacting? Can you calm yourself down when triggered? Empathy. Can you see things from the other person's perspective even when you disagree with what they're telling you? And having empathy isn't doing what you're told. If I understand how you feel, and I agree that you should feel bad about that, that doesn't mean that I agree to doing what you say do. Right? You understand how I feel about not going to work on time because I got to put gas in the car. You understand how frustrated I might be for you not putting gas in the car when you come back, even though you took the car with a full tank of gas. That does not mean that you are providing empathy if you are putting gas in the car now. You are acknowledging how I felt about the fact that you keep bringing the car back. That is the empathy. You put your feet in my shoes and recognize that you would be pissed off if every time you went to the car there was no gas in it. But not doing anything about it doesn't mean that you weren't empathetic about how I feel. You completely understand. You just don't care. or you're unwilling to change. You could care and be unwilling to change. Huge difference. Communication is going to be an important one. Can you express your needs clearly and respectfully? Because doing it clearly is easy. Doing it respectfully is hard. But an unethical and unhealthy level of assertion is that women don't like being told certain things in a certain manner, and they're going to falsely classify it as disrespectful because it hurts her feelings that you're telling her the truth. If a girl asks you if an outfit makes her look fat and you tell her yes, she's going to be insulted because you should have said it nicely. There's no nice way to say that you're screwing up. You bought clothes that were too small for you. You knew that you were putting on some weight. You should have got some clothes with some extra give in it. That way it would not be as pronounced. If you're going to get something that's too tight for you, you shouldn't be wearing tight clothes in the first place. If you're going to get something that's too tight, your stomach's hanging over your belt buckle, bro, don't ask me how you look. I'm not going to give you a positive response. I'm going to give you one of those Simon responses. I'm going to give you one of those Hell Kitchen responses. Because if you want me to be honest to you, then I'm going to have to tell you when you look bad. If you want me to be honest to you, I'm going to have to tell you when your voice sucks on that song that you were singing in karaoke. If you want me to be honest with you, I have to be able to tell you that your makeup looks too much, too rough, in too many different ways. If you want to be honest with you, if I tell you that that skirt is too short, it is too short. Okay? The other side of communication is that you need to listen to what's being told to you without becoming defensive. Ladies, y'all got to work on that when y'all claim that y'all are emotionally intelligent, but y'all get defensive when y'all are told that you're screwing up. High emotional intelligence is the ultimate buffer against stress. The test for this pillar is going to be simple. Can your partner describe their own emotional patterns and flaws with insight? Can you explain how you're screwing up and be serious and detailed and in depth about it? A person who can say, I know that when I get stressed, I tend to become critical and I'm working on that. That is demonstrating the self-awareness that is the bedrock of emotional intelligence. If I understand that I get pissed off when people say stupid things to me, then I understand that some comments that Michael say, if we were in person, I would have Bernie Mac slapped his ass. But because we're on a live podcast, I have to take a deep breath and bring the conversation back to appropriateness. Now, pillar number 4 is going to be conflict styles and repairs. This is going to be the maintenance plan of your relationship. Every relationship has conflict. In fact, landmark research by Dr. John Gottman shows that roughly 69% of marital conflicts are perpetual, meaning they are based on fundamental differences and will never be fully solved. Compatibility isn't about eliminating the conflict. It is about having a shared system for managing it and repairing the connection after the conflict has been dispelled, resolved, reduced, put on the back burner, whatever the case may be. Your conflict norms. This is going to be an issue that you got to pay attention to. Do your clash styles. Does one of your needs, do one of you in your relationship need to raise your voice to feel heard while the other one shuts down? This is going to be a huge dynamic in your discussions. Do your clash styles match? Okay. If you get frustrated and because you're frustrated, your voice escalates or elevates, you need to recognize that at some point when you can hear your voice bouncing off the walls, you need to shut up. No, that's okay. How you doing, Antonio? Oh, look, hey, you were trying to jump into the live, and you have a profile photo that is inappropriate. um, this is actually something that's going to be really huge. And if you find yourself shutting down whenever somebody starts talking to you, you might want to write down what they're saying and then come back to them later and talk to them about it later. Repair attempts is going to be important. How quickly and effectively do you repair the bond after a fight occurs? Can you offer and accept an apology? Or are you going to be like one of those K-pop dramas? I will never forgive you. The most successful couples are masters at repairing their relationship after a conflict. They're not masters of avoiding the conflict or reducing or eliminating the conflict. They're masters of repairing the relationship after each conflict that occurs. And over 20 years, you're probably going to have at least 52 conflicts a year. Believe it or not. Share commitments. This is a good one. Do you both believe that the health of the relationship is more important than being right in the argument? The test for this pillar is, after a disagreement, do you eventually come closer with a deeper understanding, or do you just add another brick to the wall of resentment? Pillar number 5 is going to be trust independence and interdependence. This is going to be the architecture of the relationship. But this is also going to be one of the final pillars that defines the very structure of your connection. It's about the space between you and your partner. Trust. This is going to be more than just fidelity. It's about dependability. Can I count on you? Do you believe your partner has your back? Independence and autonomy. Do you both have a strong sense of self outside of the relationship with your own friends and your own hobbies? Independence isn't I can pay all the bills by myself. Independence is when my partner is unavailable, can I keep this under control until my partner comes back? Self-sufficiency is only holding it down until the responsible party comes back to take over their responsibility. You gotta understand there's a difference between independence and self-sufficiency. If relationships were like video games, independency would be the free-for-all where you can keep yourself alive till the end of the game. Self-sufficiency would be you bringing the recovery packs for everybody that was down, you providing cover fire for the people that got down until the next person comes to bring recovery packets for everybody else. You now stay with the team and keep the team alive until the team makes it to the end of the match. That's the difference between self-sufficiency and independence. Independence is that you're doing it all by yourself. Self-sufficiency, you're doing it with a team. And when you have to take over the role of somebody in the team until they return, when they return, they get that role back. So if you're not the leader of the pack and you lead the pack while the leader of the pack is away, when the leader comes back, you submit to the leader. So if the husband's supposed to be leading the family, mom's in charge while dad is gone. When dad gets back, listen to your father. Whatever your father says, do it. And as reinforcements, you lead by example. When dad says do something, you as the parent, mom, do what dad says, so that when the kids start, oh, well, why do I have to? I listen to dad, you should too. That makes more sense to the children instead of do as I say, not as I do. If mom doesn't listen to dad, why should I listen to dad? I got respect for mom. If mom doesn't have respect for dad, why can I have respect for dad? So whenever dad says do something, mom should follow that instruction. And then mom should reinforce that in the children. That builds a hierarchy. Now, a healthy relationship is going to be made of two whole individuals, not one individual trying to fill in a void. When we start talking about independence, in one way, this can be the balance between connection and autonomy. It's going to be a classic incompatibility here that is the smothered version versus the abandoned version. in this dynamic where one partner needs constant connection while the other needs significant space. The test for this pillar is easy. Does the relationship make you feel more yourself or less yourself? Does it support your individual growth or requires you to shrink? With that being said, how do you take this out of theory and into real life? How can you actually measure this stuff, especially when you're dating someone new? You do it by asking one simple, powerful question. This is the question that we were supposed to be getting at on the show tonight. This question is designed to bypass the polished versions of a person and get right to the heart of their real world behaviors. It reveals their stress response, their value in action, and their self-awareness all at once. The question is, FX Trader, the question is, when life gets hard, how do you naturally show up and what do you need in return? I want to let that sink in real quick. When life gets hard, how do you naturally show up and what do you need in return? I'm not asking you what are your weaknesses, which invites a rehearsed answer. How do you show up implies behavior. What do you need reveals what makes them feel secure. How do I show up to protect and provide a situation? To protect and provide in a situation, or when times get hard, how do I show up? I'm going to be the problem solver. I'm going to be bringing the resources. I'm going to be bringing the backup. I'm not just bringing the backup, I am reinforcements. So I'm going to bring the aggression. If you need to be recovered from a scenario, I will recover by any means necessary. And there are no morals and ethics in that fashion. I will John Q it if necessary. Therefore, when you decide I'm going to get my man and I'm that man, you're expecting the Marine, you're expecting Gone in 60 Seconds, you're expecting the father from Taken, you're expecting Raymond Reddington, you're expecting the guy that's going to come in and do whatever it takes to resolve the situation, preferably in our favor, right? Now, what do I expect in return? Obedience and cooperation. That might be a big ask. But if I'm willing to break laws for you, you should follow what I say. I find it to be an equal trade or a reasonably balanced one. You're not listening for a right or wrong answer when you're asking these kinds of questions. You are listening for honesty, self-awareness, and evidence of growth. Here's going to be a guide to decoding the responses. And I'm going to tell you guys that if you've been on a YouTube channel, some of these guides have already been placed into the membership, so you have them already accessible to you before the show even started. Some green flags. These are going to be some signs of high compatibility. They give specific examples instead of, oh, I'm pretty resilient. They say something like, a few years ago when my mom was sick, my first instinct was to get really controlling with schedules. I realized I was doing it because I felt powerless, and I've been learning since then that I need to communicate more and control less. That's a good response. They show evidence of growth. They can talk about the past version of themselves and how they have actively worked to change that. Instead of just, I shut down, that's how I've always been. They say something like, I used to be someone who would just withdraw when things got tough, but I realized how much that hurts people. So now I try to say I'm feeling overwhelmed and I need some space, but I'm not leaving you, right? The ability for them to articulate a balance between what they do and what they need, that is important. A great answer sounds like, I tend to go into fix it mode when I really need from my partner in that situation is not advice, but just a hug for them to tell me when they're working with me as a team, right? And I might need to remember to ask them what they need instead of just bulldozing ahead and resolving all of the conflicts. That's a good response. Red flag signs of low compatibility. Their narratives are full of blame. Everyone else is the problem. Their exes, their bosses, they present themselves as perpetual victims in most situations, which signals a lack of self-awareness and self-accountability and self-responsibility. They romanticize chaos. They talk about a fight and the makeup or intense jealousy as if it's a sign of passion rather than instability. They only talk about what they need. Their answer is entirely self-referenced. I need support. I need patience. There's no sense of their role or responsibility in the dynamic of a group setting. They have, and this is heavy for the women 30, 35, 40, 45 years old. A lot of women do this trend on TikTok where they're like, oh, well, why get a 20 something when you have a 30 something who knows exactly what she wants? I'm attractive and I know what I want. You know what you want, but are you willing to do what I want? You can know everything about you, but if you are not willing to cooperate with me, how are you at 30 something more beneficial than a 20 something that is willing to cooperate? Y'all don't think about that. If they have a fixed mindset, that's a red flag. Being 30 something years old and you know what to do, you're 53 years old, you know what to do. You're not willing to compromise, you're not willing to change, you're not willing to modify your decision-making skills to benefit the situation in any way, shape, or form. It must be your way or the highway, or at least if it's not your way, you're going to shut down and let somebody else do the whole thing themselves because you don't agree with what's going on. If you have a fixed mindset, it's a red flag. This is perhaps the biggest red flag because it is this is just how I am, take it or leave it mentality. If I have to accept you as you are, flaws and all, but I also have to be 100% of your checklist with no mistakes, no flaws, no errors, it's unrealistic. It's a bad attitude to have. This person is going to tell you up front with this type of information that they are not willing to grow. They're not willing to meet you halfway, and you have to believe them. Women who swear to God that they're a 10 when they're clearly not. If you believe that you are a 10, then you believe that you do not have room for improvement. It doesn't matter if you say that you're a 10 just based on your looks. It doesn't matter if you say that you're a 10 based on your looks and your attitude. If you say that you're a 10, then that means that you are not willing to change anything else about you, that you are fundamentally perfect for your partner, not for yourself. Because in a relationship, your value is going to be based on how much your partner benefits you. So if your partner doesn't benefit you, that's not a good partner for you. Likewise, you have to benefit your partner. So if you're a 10 for your partner, not for yourself, then you don't have to change. But if you recognize that there are things about you that you just don't have the motivation to change, you're not a 10. If you recognize that you've got some friends or some family that might have expressed fault in you about something, or expressed a concern, or just mentioned something that just wasn't meshing well with them, they still love you, they still hang out with you, they still roll with you, you know that your network has issues with you, which makes you not a 10. So ladies, when y'all call yourselves a 10, y'all are clearly saying outright, I am satisfied with who I am and I am unwilling to improve that for you or anybody else. As a result, a man that hears a woman self-identify as a 10, that's a red flag, and you should run as fast as you can, because she is not willing to improve from her current position. Now, here's going to be how you use this stuff. You want to start with yourself. First person accountability, first and foremost, always. Before you ask anyone else, you want to answer these questions for yourself. When life gets hard, you show up by what action? And you feel secure when your partner provides you what needs. Knowing your own patterns first makes it a whole lot easier for you to understand compatibilities. In a dating context, you don't pull this out like an interview question on a date. You let it come up naturally. When you're talking about life challenges, you can ask, that sounds tough. How do you get through that time? Listen to the story that they tell you. Are they the hero of the story, or are they the victim? Were they the learner? Their narrative reveals everything. In an established relationship, this is an incredibly powerful exercise, and you guys need to do it together. Both of you write down your answers separately, then come together and share them. The goal is not to judge each other. It's not to retaliate against each other. It's not to resent each other. It is to understand each other. This conversation alone can become a powerful turning point in your relationship, revealing the invisible forces that have been in the past shaping the dynamic of your relationship for years, where if you start doing differently now, you will find yourself in a better relationship. After hearing all of this, you might be feeling a little worried. You might be cataloging all of the ways that you and your partner are perfectly compatible, or in some situations, not compatible at all. Our stress responses are totally clashing. Our lifestyles are pretty different. That's you. Take a deep breath. It's not over. The goal has never been to find someone who is a 100% perfect match. That person doesn't exist for anybody. It is for you to understand what you have and then navigate around the complicated things that you can't control. Now, the final and perhaps most critical element of compatibility is going to be adaptation. I just call that. Perfect static similarity is a myth. People change over time at different rates. Long-term studies on marriage have found that how couples adapt together over time is a far better predictor of success than how similar they were at the beginning of their relationship. This brings us back to the most important red flag, the fixed mindset version versus the growth mindset version. A person with a fixed mindset sees their traits as unchangeable. They say, this is who I am, but what they really are saying is the price of admission to a relationship with me is accepting this dysfunction, and I will not change it for you. I ain't trying to have that shit. A person with a growth mindset sees their traits as malleable. They may say that this is my default, but I'm working on it. What that tells you is that I know that I'm not perfect, but I am willing to put in the effort to grow and adapt so that we can both feel safe and happy in a relationship together. A growth mindset is the ultimate sign of compatibility. It's the willingness to engage in the dance of a relationship, a dance that requires both structure of your stability and shared values, and flexibility of your capacity to evolve together. So while you might not be 100% of what each other wants, at least 60 to 80% of what you expected to get is there. And the other 30 to 20% that's not there, you guys adapt to that. So the question isn't, are we perfectly compatible today? The question is, are we both willing to do the work to stay compatible for a lifetime? Are you with a partner who is willing to learn new steps when the music of your life changes? Or are you stuck in their old routines, demanding that you dance to their beat or not participate at all? Now, we started this by challenging the beliefs that chemistry is the ultimate sign of a destined love. And we've seen that while chemistry is the thrilling start of it, it is compatibility that provides the endorsements that you need for a lifelong journey. Steven says, Carol D and the growth mindset. Good point. Good point. Or was that supposed to be Control D in the growth? We've moved from the high dopamine hit to the quiet strength of a relationship's operating systems. And I went through it in detail over the last 3 hours. We've mapped the dimensions that shapes our connections, uncovered the hidden engines of our stress responses, and stood on the 5 pillars that support a love that lasts. Most importantly, we've armed you with one powerful question to cut through the noise and see people for who they truly are. Now, the path to healthy, lasting relationships isn't about finding a perfect person who gives you endless butterflies. It's about leaving that fairy tale behind. It's going to be about conscious work of choosing a partner whose way of life aligns with your way of life, which doesn't have to be your type. It just means that that is the person that you need to have in your life right now. It's going to be about finding someone who is not only standing with you in the sunshine when things are all fun and dandy, but also knows how to hold the umbrella or even dance with you in the rain. We call them ride or dies, where and ride or die mentality is not really a good concept, because it's the concept of doing it whether you want to or not, because if you don't, you're going to fail. That's the censored version of it. Truthfully, I want a by any means necessary kind of person, where whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish, you're going to do the best that you can to not break the law and help me accomplish this goal, right? And we're going to brainstorm and use unorthodox methods to get stuff done. If we don't have jumper cables, but we've got an extension cord, we might plug the car up to the house, but we're going to get this car started. I know y'all ain't never seen that before, but I've done it. You've got to understand the mentality of where there's a will, there's a way. If we are willing to work together, we're going to find a way to get this done, right? And no one individual who's truly trying to help has a bad idea. If you're not trying to help, you'll come up with the dumbest things for the scenario. But if you're trying to help, you're going to come with something that I didn't think about. And we're going to weigh whether or not it's possible versus the cost of doing it. And the cost of doing it isn't always money. It is the fallout. It is the end goal. It is the consequences of. But we're supposed to be working together on this. The greatest relationships aren't the ones that start with the biggest explosions, but the ones that have the fuel to keep a steady flame burning through the coldest and darkest nights. So I encourage you to stop looking for the fireworks. This is one of the reasons why we're like, oh man, we're going to jump on a plane and we're going to fly to the Philippines, because a woman is willing to dedicate herself to the relationship for like 15, 20 years. That gives you plenty of time to figure this stuff out. You should have gotten it together within the first 5. But we fail to talk about on a regular basis that the women in the Philippines actually put like 6 months to a year of friend zone before they commit to the relationship. Depending on who you are and how they are and what's going on, the Filipino woman might be your buddy for a year, 2 years, or whatever, and then commit to you in a relationship. But once she commits to that relationship, you've got almost 2 decades of screwing it up before she walks away. Whereas in America, you've got about 3 dates and $1,500 down the line before she leave you for LeBron James because he's in town. Steven says, plug the car into the house for a short that might go viral. I don't need to do that now. I got a charge box. I've got a second battery in the car. I've got jumper cables now. But back in the day, I had a car that had a good alternator with a bad battery. I needed to get the car to the store to change out the battery. The only way I could do it was to jump off the car. I did not have a second vehicle. I was in the middle of a 10-acre piece of property. I ran an extension cord from the fuse box to the car, plugged the car into the fuse box, cranked the car up, started the car. Now the car's running. I don't need the battery. The alternator ran the car. I drove the car to the store and left the car running until they came to get the battery. Once they got the battery, I turned the car off. And at this moment, they were obligated to give me another battery under the warranty because I was what, 4 hours away from the house, and in Florida, that's a long distance. That was a few hundred miles away from home. I can't go back home, so that means I'm going to live on your parking lot until you put a battery in my car. They put a battery in the car, and then I was able to drive, and it was a free battery, me too. I did not. It was a batteries plus battery, one of those deep cycle batteries. That's what it was. And I went out to Miami and picked it up and brought it back. And it never let me down, but I don't need to do that these days, but it's doable. It's done. You know what I mean? It was a scenario where you learn physics, you learn chemistry, you study conductors and charges. You have the positive, the negative, and you have your positive and negative coming out of your jump box, or not your jump box, your fuse box in the house. You have your black wire and your red wire. You plug the black wire and the red wire, you touch them to the, that's it. Turn the car up, that's good. I'm not going to encourage people to do that, but I've done it before. And it's one of those things that has led me to understand that in my life, whatever I got to do to get it done, I will get it done. But if I can get it done more efficiently, safer, more effectively, legally, I'm gonna do the better side of things. I'm not gonna do it the unorthodox raw dog style, where the consequences of my decision could lead to a larger negative fallout that contradicts my entire end goal. But in survival instincts, tactics that other people would turn away from, I'm like, yeah, let's give it a try. What's the worst that could happen? If it's never going to run again, then it's never going to run again. Let's try this and see if it works. Right? If you've got a flat and you don't have a spare, or if your spare's got a flat and you got one of those donuts, you already know that the donut is going to get thrown away because they don't replace the donut. You might decide to call a tow truck and say, oh, well, they're going to come and get my car. I might say, since I'm throwing a donut away anyway, because they're not going to replace a spare on a donut, I'll ride on rim with the donut and drive myself to the save money on the tow, throw the donut away and put a new tire on the rim and get me a whole nother thing. And then go down the street and buy me a full-size spare so that I can replace that donut. Unorthodox thinking. But the ends have to justify the means. Instead of chasing the sparks, you guys got to look for the fireplace. Now, if tonight's show gave you guys a new perspective on a lot of things, I want to make sure that you guys consider with one person who you think might need to hear this. You should share tonight's show with some of the people that you think need to hear this. And if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe and turn on the notifications for more deep dives on the arts and sciences of building love that will truly last. And then for you guys that are watching us on TikTok, I want you guys to make sure that you take your opportunity to switch over to the YouTube side of things, like and subscribe there, and check out the membership there, because we got a lot of information that we give you guys. And we're here every night of the week around 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. And as we get closer and closer to daylight savings time, we should be starting at the top of the hour at like 10:05 Eastern Standard Time when daylight savings time rolls over. So I want you guys to make sure that you tiptoe over and come and see what we've got going on. Now, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. So I'm going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to make you guys higher value men, not only to improve your financial life, but also to improve your decision-making skills. Ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast for the male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher value women by prioritizing the things in your life that are inside of your control, changing the things you don't like to improve your life, and then navigating around things that are outside of your control. Then you want to prioritize your 20 and 30-year plan, reverse engineer that to what you want to do today on how to get to your 20 and 30-year plan. Keep your eyes and ears open for the potential suitor that has the right personality, characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, admiration, and integrity to accomplish their own goals. See what goals they have. see how their goals mesh with your goals. And if you two have the same long-term satisfaction goals or similar long-term satisfaction goals that play off of one another, you two can accomplish those goals a whole lot faster together. I tell you guys on a regular basis that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, as long as both of you have the same values or similar values. Because one person has a short-term gratification lifestyle and the other person has a long-term satisfaction lifestyle, short-term gratification will completely undermine long-term satisfaction. And you guys will never get along. So with that being said, special shout out to Steven, Michael, OG Kicks, FX Trader, Unc Andy, Joe Jack. I think that's everybody that dives in on a regular basis. Yeah, that's everybody that dives in on a regular basis. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Sandy, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.